welcome to this special edition of Brews Cruise. I am your host, Chris Jacobson, and today we have a couple special guests who are making returns number 2 for Josh and 3 for Brett. But we have a 6-month celebration that Josh said, I got to come on. I've watched some bourbon come through, and I got the big dogs, and I want to have the big dogs on the podcast. So he has brought us a plethora of different bourbons. And also, I got gifts for you guys, too. Now, some of you may remember my dad was on the podcast, Rich, back on like episode 19-ish. That car back there is one of his. That's sitting right behind us. It's a 1955 Chevy sedan delivery, and he had one like it in high school. However, he knows that you guys have been itching for an autographed item, and they are autographed green visors.
Oh, exactly. Love it.
So...
Beautiful.
This, if you remember, I wore one because this is what makes accounting fun. So, Brett, there's yours. And Josh, he knows that since you're in accounting, that you would love one of those. And, Brett, your dad's in accounting or was.
Yes,
so you appreciate it.
He
So,
taught
you know, we got gifts for everyone on this beautiful 6-month anniversary.
Well, thank you, Rich.
Yeah.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the kind gesture. Now, the real question is, are these exclusive? Are they 2 of 2?
These are 2 of 2, yes.
Yeah.
Yours was the first one autographed. Yours is the second one autographed in that. And if people have looked at the Facebook or Instagram, they'll see Rich signing them by hand.
Wonderful.
Perfect. I'll have to hang it up in my
front and
office.
center right there, boys. So now,
I think this is going to be worth some money.
well, you never know. This podcast blows up. They're going to be like, I want one of those, and I can start charging $20 an autograph and $20 for the visor. That's $40, and just keep them rolling in.
There you go.
And you
All
can't
right.
sell these, though, because these are ours. Yeah.
No, not these.
2 of 2.
Well, no, you guys are taking those home. You're wearing those proudly.
Yeah.
And if anybody asks, is accounting more fun with these on? Hell yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so Josh, we have a plethora of bourbons, and if you're watching on YouTube right now, you're going to see 4 of them. However, that's not the only ones he's brought. This is just what we're starting with. And Josh is going to kind of take us through a lot of this while we just have conversations because, Brett, you want to come back on because you heard episode number 2 with Josh, and you said, hey, I must have cut him off, you said. I have questions for this guy.
It wasn't necessarily cut off. It was more or less the conversation just drifted to a different place. And I said, if I get a chance to go on the podcast with Josh, there's questions that I have. And then, I re-listened to it to go back to those different spots. And so I actually found a few more.
So of the 3 views of his, you're 2 of them. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
All right, Josh. Well, you're gonna school us on this bourbon here. So far, I think I've had. Was it Andrew Elmquist was one of them that brought straight bourbon, and then I had Alex Garrett. He made old fashions with bullet bourbon, and I don't know if we've had anybody else on with bourbon, other than I had whiskey with Thomas. I had whiskey, that Glen.
The Driftless Glen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was with Thomas just a couple weeks ago. But you said, hey, I got some stuff that is going to throw everyone back. So you guys, if you're watching and you're into bourbon, or even if you're not, we're going to get a whole knowledge of bourbon tonight with some fun conversation. So, Josh, you tell us where we're starting.
All right. So a lot of people really lean towards the Buffalo Trace products. And what I brought along with is an example of how a recipe can vary depending upon how the barrel selection, how they treat the barrels, and aging. So your one on the left there, it'll be there right, the Weller 12.
This one right here?
Yep, so that's a 12-year aged bourbon. They all have the same recipe. And the one on the center.
The oddball.
Yep, this oddball tall one right there. That is the Van Winkle 12-year. Same age, same recipe. But as a selection process, when they're choosing the barrels, the profile comes out different.
Okay.
Now, the next one you have is the Weller Full Proof. That's a higher proof bourbon. It's a little bit younger than the 12-year, but it comes out a little bit more alcohol heavy.
Okay.
The one on the right, their left, is going to be the Weller Antique 107.
All right.
It's 107 proof. It's one of the more easily accessible ones. There's also Weller Special Reserve. I drank all that one. And then
Perfect.
There's a Weller Single Barrel, which I just didn't bring that one. But the variation in tastes and profiles.
Sure.
So what I was thinking is, and we're welcome to try every single one if you want, but there's going to be a lot tonight if you do that.
Well, that's okay. What we want you to do is tell us the ones that you think we should try that will maybe stand out to us from what maybe Brett and I have ever drank in our life. Because like you said, a lot of people go to Buffalo Trace, it's really easily accessible. You see it's probably at eye level at the store, but then you got a whole bunch of different profiles, as you said, the way they're made, the batches, all that kind of stuff. I want you to tell us which ones, if you were giving us a tour of a distillery or if it was your bourbon distillery, you tell us what we're supposed to have to wow us, I guess.
Well, and then even at Buffalo Trace, just so you know, and around here, there's a good chance you could go into liquor stores and never see these.
Okay.
They're a little bit harder to find. They're usually in the back. You got to ask about them. You have to know they exist in order to be able to get them.
Ooh.
So.
And who makes these?
They're out of Buffalo Trace.
Out of Buffalo Trace.
Yes. Yep. So the ones that I want you guys to try is we'll start off with the Van Winkle because that one I want you to try before you try anything else. Because what I always tell people is it's interesting because it's one of the first ones I ever had that had like a viscosity to it. It has like when you have a wine and you slosh it around, it has legs, they say.
Okay.
This you'll see that in it, and you can feel it in your mouth. It has almost an oily texture to it.
Nice.
So it definitely is an experience, and a lot of if you were to order this at a restaurant, you're probably talking about $100 for an ounce or 2 ounces.
Oh, geez.
So
I think
How
I
many
have
ounces?
seen it at like $180 for.
oh yeah,
pour.
they go quite a bit. Truthfully, all of these are going to be $50 plus at a restaurant.
Really?
For a pour.
So how many pours would you naturally get out of just one bottle?
There's 25 ounces in a bottle.
Okay, so you're talking, you say like $100 an ounce, possibly?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably even
$2,500.
more. I've seen Van Winkle at 180 an ounce.
Oh yeah.
Holy
And then I
smokes.
mean, if you get up into so they have for Van Winkle, you have the old Pappy 10-year, the Van Winkle 12, then you have the Pappy Van Winkle, and people get really uptight about what you call a Pappy. So 15-year is going to be your next step up. Then you have 20, 23, and there technically is a 25-year.
Okay.
But I've never even seen a 25-year.
It's probably locked away in a vault.
Yeah, it's usually reserved for special charities.
Okay.
They don't
gotcha.
even sell them.
This
So
is not a
question-
charity.
Oh, go ahead.
This is not a charity.
No, I know.
Dang
yeah.
it.
So question then, is this considered a Pappy or this is just a Van Winkle? And what's the difference?
The label.
Gotcha.
It's the same exact recipe between this, the 15, the 20, and the 23. Same selection process, same everything. It's just this is the 12-year. People just get...
And so they won't label it Pappy until it hits the 15-year mark? Is that...
Buffalo Trace would list this in their Pappy collection. It's the people that are on Facebook claiming that they have a Pappy and you don't that say this isn't.
Gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
the only difference.
All
So,
right.
yeah, let's...
Let's rip some, huh? Wow, well, it's very generous of you to bring such an expensive, and I know that you've given me a sample of this just the other day so I could see what she's all about. And I do remember this had a totally different taste than your normal average
I'll let
bourbon.
you pour how much you think I should.
You do it. However you feel.
Yeah, just dump it all in, man.
Go for it.
Just a smidge more.
Just
Go
smidge.
for it.
He wants a full finger.
Well, if this is one of the best ones.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Let's cheers to 6 months. Now, how should we drink this? Do we have to swish it around at all, or no?
Drink it however you want. It's not going to make a huge difference. It's not a high proof, so a lot of the times when you do the swishing around, it gets the ethanol off.
Okay.
But since it's not a real high proof, you're not going to get a whole lot of that.
I taste that oily taste. It's almost like, it's not like greasy. It's just like it's just not what you're used to. It just goes down nice and smooth. It doesn't give you that, oh man, it's a little warm here, but it's not burning warm.
Right. Right.
So that's
Very
good.
delightful. Tastes
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next group is going to have some they'll
Knock
burn.
Oh, so put some hair on our chest or
Yeah.
lack thereof, take
Yeah.
some hair off. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, okay, now, Josh, you came on, you bringing the big dogs on for the 6-month anniversary, and Brett says that I cut you off on that one spot, and I want to know what the conversation was that that I want to go back to that because this is interesting.
You just want
I
to
did
start
not
right
know.
in it, don't you?
I do.
So, and when I was re-listening to it, one of the exact moments where it kind of went astray was you were referencing, I might be phrasing this wrong, but it was work. Let me think about this. It was basically talking about the lines of get paid for what you're doing and don't expect to get paid and then get it.
Right. Yeah.
And it was all referencing around leadership and leadership styles and things like that. So that's where I wanted to kind of
and I
pick
think
up
what
a
you're
little bit
talking
of
about is I talked
conversation.
about how it frustrates me when people will say I'm not paid for that.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, because if you want to be paid at a level higher than what you're currently being paid for, then you need to do the work in order to be able to get the return on your investment.
Sure.
Your
Absolutely.
sweat equity, if I want to say it. No, I mean you see it a lot, especially in our age group, and then the younger age groups from that.
Do you mean that people want to get paid first before they're able to
Yes.
do the work? And you're
Versus-
saying, hey, show me you can do this first, and then we'll pay you.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to
Okay.
earn that level. It's
Sure.
not given to you and then you get to catch up.
Yep. Okay.
It doesn't work that way.
I see that. Yeah. Well, that's true though. Amongst a lot of things, and you got to prove yourself first, and then you go. You know.
Right. I mean, when you, if I'm an independent contractor and I'm doing a job, I have to produce results before I get paid for anything. And it's the same thing when you're an employee. Now, that's not saying that I have not taken the occasional person and said, listen, I need to pull you up and put you in a position. I might give you a small bump to get there, but once you show you can do it, then there's more to come at that point. But yeah, I don't accept people that'll say, no, I'm not going to do this because I'm not paid for it. That's the best way to not work there anymore.
You know what? Another thing on that same train of conversation that you guys were having was you referenced how there isn't jobs that you wouldn't do, or at least when you referenced I don't get paid to do that. I thought that was really powerful because I feel like oftentimes people do have that mentality of, well, that's not in my job description and that's not what this company hired me to do necessarily, which depending on what job you have, sometimes that does come into a factor if your job description says X and they try to make you do Y.
Right.
But I also feel that when you have that mentality and you lead from the top and show them, I had a boss once that always told me, in this in no way was my job description at the time, but I can tell you to go scrub the bathroom clean if I want you to, because I'm in a position where I can make you do that or instruct you to do that, or we can do it together. Mm-hmm. And that was a really powerful statement that my boss at the time had told me, because he was showing me that there's not a job that was above him, and that he would go down to the trenches with me.
Sure. It reminds me of those photos you might see on social media. It says a leader, and it's showing like a bunch of people pulling, and the leader's helping pull whatever it is, and a boss is like someone yelling at everyone that's in that picture pulling whatever it is. I see those photos all the time. The leader helps out and does things along with the crew.
Well, it was
showing
like
that.
you said on that first podcast, manage up.
Up. Yep.
And once again, that whole train of conversation that you guys were having was so powerful to listen to, because those type of conversations are what really intrigued me. And and it's just the job market right now is very interesting. So it's a relief and like a breath of fresh air when you see somebody that has a leadership role that thinks similar to you, or that has kind of the same philosophy on how to make your team the best, because you're only as good as the team that you have.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it really needs to be a servant leader type position. And it's not necessarily that I would do at their job for them, but it's also saying that, listen, if you need help, I don't care what it is. I'm going to help you.
Absolutely.
I don't care. I'll help load the truck. It doesn't matter. And I'll help move all the materials. That's fine. I can do that. There's nothing. I'll get down on the ground and climb under the tables to unhook stuff if you need to. It doesn't make a difference. I'll do it. And everybody that works with me knows that I'll do that.
Yeah.
Now there's some stuff that Nick Kraft or St. Corey does that I mean, I don't have the skill level for,
Sure.
so me doing it is actually counterproductive.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So
Go knit that
but-
sweater, kid.
exactly. But it doesn't mean like given the opportunity to learn, I wouldn't try.
Sure.
So yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny that the exact phrase that you said, you know, have a servant mentality or lead from that mentality, because when you listen to some of the podcasts or read some of the books that talk about effective leadership and what makes a good leader, they talk about that servant mentality and lead with that servant heart or servant mind, because I think a lot of times people get into these roles and they think if they're a supervisor or they're a manager that all of a sudden that makes them a leader. Well, I've met people that aren't in leadership positions that are incredible leaders,
Right.
because they know how to lead their team. So just because you're at the top or just because you have a title that says you're something, it's extremely important to know the difference between a manager and a leader. And those two things
Right.
are very different. They can be the same. So it's nice when you have somebody at that level.
Right, and it also depends on the person that you're dealing with too when you're in a leadership position, because there are people that I've had to do a little bit more micromanaging with.
Sure.
And it's required, but I'm not going to say that I didn't treat them any different other than that, but it took a little bit more hand holding, a little bit more direction, especially to get them started. But once you got them going in the right direction, because you will get the occasional person that maybe isn't the greatest problem solver, isn't the greatest at being able to determine processes. So you really have to walk them through it the first 4 or 5 times, 10 times, whatever. But once they get it down, they are one of the most solid employees you'll ever have, because they're the type of person that wants to understand it, not just repeat it.
Sure. Yeah,
So
there's that.
once they get to that point, they end up being very strong.
And I think as a leader, that's one of the most fulfilling feelings you can have, because even though you might have to spend a little more time with that individual, you get to see the growth and the progression that they have as employees, or potentially even move on to a different role within the organization, or even a different role within a different organization. And you can take that with a sense of pride that what I helped foster within them, that was already in them, and obviously some training. Now look where they're at, and I think it's
Right.
just a fascinating thing when you get in.
And it always feels good to be right about the employee you pick too. I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
That goes back to the last podcast when you have to be right.
Yeah. There's been the occasional employee that I thought was going to be great. Had all the tools for a leadership and management position, I thought, but then putting them into that position, being able to understand the job and being able to deal with people is such a drastically different thing.
Sure.
And as soon as you put them into a position where they're responsible for other individuals, it changes people and how they handle things. And there's been at least 2 that I can think of right off the top of my head that I definitely chose the wrong person, and that's always really hard.
Well, and you're dealing with the human element of it, right? And you're dealing with just various aspects of positions that they may have.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and when it comes to authority, you get these people that all of a sudden get power hungry and think that they need to micromanage everything and over the top on everything. And then you need to go to them and be like, listen, I didn't do that to you.
Right.
Why do you think that's going to be successful? And sometimes you have to have those humbling conversations with them, and they receive it pretty well. And then sometimes you end up parting ways.
Sure. Yeah, that happens all the time. But it's like sometimes you watch a sports team and all of a sudden you're like, oh, they got that player. Oh, they're going to be good. And it just doesn't work out because the chemistry wasn't there, or just, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that over time, it doesn't matter if it's within the same organization or not. There's people that foster those relationships within certain individuals. So, an employee might come to you at X, Y, or Z and have this X, Y, or Z boss or supervisors or leaders before them, and they might not have been the same management style. So then they get in, or you think these people are going to be great. They're going to be excellent supervisors or excellent leaders, and then they kind of maybe fall short of the expectations that maybe were set out for them. And where I'm going with this is I have people in my mind that kind of shaped and fostered where I have in my leadership skills that I think I have were there individuals in your life throughout your time, either growing up or in the working world, that kind of help shape those leadership styles that you have? Because I feel like when you have a leadership style like you had spoke about on episode 2, that they're not extremely rare, but I feel like they're a little more rare these days because so many people get into high-level positions, and you're right, they let that go to their head, or they're above that. I'm not going to go help sweep the floor. Right. Well, if the floor needs to get swept and there's only one person sweeping it and it takes 2, we shouldn't be above that.
Right. No, and I think for me personally, I think some of it was I was a coach. So coaching taught me a lot about that. And then Rocky, being around Rocky Sancork, huge. I mean, he's the epitome of what I'm explaining. I mean, he's the exact person that I'm explaining. He'd do absolutely anything. I learned a lot from my mom and her leadership styles. And then obviously from the Bible, learning, from Christ and the teachings there, and that's the ultimate servant.
Yeah.
And being servant on that side. And, faith has always been very important to me, so that's something that I try to make sure comes through in how I act. And that, even when it comes to people that I work with, having an understanding that people have personal things going on too.
Yeah.
The relationship between the boss and the employee leadership and relationship involves being able to be understanding. That stuff happens. People get sick. People have family members that get sick. And at a certain point, and it's always hard, where you have to say, I have to make a business decision.
Absolutely.
But you try and you try and you try to get past it and try and find ways to help them and do anything you can. But sometimes there are no other decisions.
Well, think of some leadership or managerial styles that will, if the production's low, in whatever field you're working in, and production's down with an employee, and the supervisor, the boss, will pull them into the office. They'll sit them down, and they'll just say, what? Production's low. We need to get this production. You're supposed to be putting out, let's say it's 10 units of whatever field you're in, 10 units a day. You're putting out 6. We need to get you back up to 10. It's a very common thing that probably happens in the workforce versus you see an employee that maybe was consistently doing 10 units, and all of a sudden you see a little progression or going backwards, and now they're starting to do 8, and now they're starting to do 6. And you pull that employee into the office and just sit down and go, how are you?
Right.
And have that real deep personal conversation of, is everything okay? Because I know, and then you let them talk. Let them, if there's something going on.
Sure.
I just think that's extremely important. And that goes to what you're saying, where it's listen. How often do we check in with our employees that are, hey, is everything okay?
Yeah, well,
Everything good
having
at
compassion
home?
for people.
Absolutely.
That's always a good one because most people think, oh, yeah, you didn't produce, you're not doing that, you're getting fired. But, you have a good leader come in and say, well, what's going on? Is everything good with your life? And do it behind closed doors, obviously.
Right.
But, I mean, do you ever have to do those kind of things? Or have you?
Yeah, no, it definitely happens.
Sure.
Where you have people that are having personal issues that need to get some stuff figured out. And, you bring them in. Actually, now it's gotten to the point now where most people that I work with know that they can come to me.
Sure, that's good.
And, I mean, I'll get phone calls on the weekend of people saying, I'm having this going on.
Nice.
And I don't know, it's not job related, obviously, but I tend to be a little bit more calm. So I'm a little bit more logical responses to things, and I settle them down. And that tends to help people.
That's good.
So that's a side effect, I guess, of my personality.
Yeah. Well, I think we should dip into the next one because I got a question for you afterwards. Because Brett had a question for you, now I got one. So let's dip into the next one. What do you think we should be doing?
This is the Weller 12-year. Same exact recipe and age of the Pappy, but it definitely has a different mouth feel, and taste to it.
You are, sir.
I love how this bottle on the secondary probably goes for like $300, and it's got a twisty top to it.
Nothing. No cork. Nothing. Just twisty top.
Yep.
Now, okay, so question before I ask you what I was going to ask you is, on the secondary market, what are you talking about? Like, you buy it, you resell it on Facebook Marketplace or something like that? Is that what you're saying?
All right, let me put this back up here.
Don't get any ideas with those visors, Chris.
These are going to the secondary market?
Yep.
I was just going to say, episode 2, you're talking about reselling a lot of different sports stuff, so don't get any ideas.
Oh, we're not even
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've never sold anything. I've
Right.
never on so.
But when
'cause
you say the
technically
secondary-
that's illegal. So
But when you talk about the secondary market, you're talking like,
people on
Market.
Facebook they
Sure.
sell it, and then
Yeah.
and truthfully now a lot of the liquor stores are charging secondary market prices.
oh,
So
what I'm hearing
sure.
is it's like a bootlegging outfit going on in certain places in East End of
Ooh.
Winona.
this
Oh,
one's
yeah,
smoother
right.
than I was expecting.
oh yeah, it's still. I mean,
was
it's still
like-
a good one. I mean, they're
Hurley.
all of those right there.
This
are great.
one, you could get, this one could be deadly. Very dangerous because it goes down so smooth.
Yeah.
I like nothing, no burn, nothing on this
Yeah.
one.
Well, and some of the burn is probably numbed by the alcohol you had in the first one. So
Yeah, maybe, but no, I mean, you've sent me some other one. Holy God.
Oh, we're getting there.
Got
Yeah, don't
fired.
worry
I'm a dragon. Now, the question I had for you is, you've had to fire people, obviously, in your line of work. Is there one that just stands out like, this sucked?
yeah.
Obviously, we're not naming any names, but
So
just like a general idea of what you had to do and what it felt like and just your emotions or whatever you had to do to go through it.
I had the privilege of taking over as the VP in 2020, which obviously
Oh,
that year
God.
sucked. And
The only
right,
thing we could do is drink on that year.
What month?
well, it was January.
So you were in
2020.
the role for about
Just
2 months.
Yeah, and we knew it was coming. I had read the articles about everything that was happening in China, and then when it hit, I'm pretty sure the first place it hit in the U.S. was in Washington State.
Yep,
Yes, it
that's what
was.
I remember too.
Yep.
And I remember going to Bernie and saying, "Listen, it's coming here. There's gonna be some stuff that they're gonna shut down businesses. We need to have somewhat of a plan. Even if it doesn't come, it doesn't hurt to have a plan in place."
Right.
And we had a person that was in a part-time position, essentially, that was probably a little overpaid at the time, and she was younger, and it was the first person I ever fired. And I had to,
damn.
I normally,
Terminated employment.
right, exactly. And that's what it was. I mean, we truthfully eliminated the position because we didn't need it during COVID.
Sure.
And so I remember calling her in, and normally we'd have HR there and everything too, but something was going on that she wasn't able to be there, so I just had another person be the witness. And yeah, I remember her crying. I mean, she was probably 19, and that was a hard one because truthfully, she was doing a great job. It just it wasn't something that we needed during that time, and we
Sure.
needed to have a plan because our plan before all of the payroll protection stuff that came out
Yep.
was we were going to pay everyone to sit at home
Ooh, ouch.
because we realized that all those employees rely on those paychecks.
Yeah, right.
So we're not going to just say, okay, you're laid off. Good luck being able to afford your life.
Yeah.
So now I think we only did one paycheck that was, I guess, I don't know what you say, on our own before the PPP came out.
Yep.
And then that came out, and then we had the ability to pay people while they were sitting. We still used the PPP to pay them while they were sitting at home.
Sure.
And we didn't have to do that, but we did. And it ended up that, every single person received their normal paycheck the entire time.
Oh, that's good.
Sounds
So-
like your leadership within the company that you work for is phenomenal from the top all the
Bernie-
way to the down. Or all the way
Bernie
to
cared
the
about his
bottom.
people. He very, very much did. He was a big time leader and a unique guy. He was born in Germany under Hitler. So, I mean, he saw the worst of the worst. I mean, he's talking about people getting killed by German soldiers in his backyard as a 7-year-old. I mean, he saw awful things, so he knew the value of people.
Yeah.
So he showed that in his leadership as an employer.
I just saw him today. He just
you?
drove by in one of his, not the car I was expecting him to drive by, just like a Mustang GT from the early 2000s. I had to double look because he's waving at me, and I think he was waving at Jim too and my dad. But same thing. I'm like, well, hey Bernie,
Yeah, he likes that.
Yeah,
He likes that car.
Years ago.
really.
Yeah.
Of all of them, that one?
I know he's got a Ferrari, a Jag, a Rolls, and a
like a
midnight.
2000 Mustang.
I think it's a '99.
Oh yeah, it's a
Years
convertible.
ago, when we were at the Black Horse one night, I think maybe it was for volleyball, sand volleyball.
Probably.
This was probably back in 2015, 2016. He must have been there having supper in his Ferrari. And I had my 2006 Suzuki Jigster 600.
The one that started on fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
That started on fire. It was just a part that started on fire. But
Still, he's going down the
I was going
highway.
down the highway, and we were going on the way to cruise night, and it was I can't remember the name of the part, but all of a sudden there was flames shooting out the side of it that I knew shouldn't have been shooting out the side of it.
I knew that too. That was his only into
I think
it.
Chris was following me.
I was like, what's
So
going
then
on?
I pulled over. I don't remember how we got home. Were you following me in your vehicle?
So what we did, yeah, no.
Or did I ride on the back of your cycle to go get the
I
truck?
think you rode back. No, I think I may have even taken you on the back of my cycle.
That's what I'm saying.
We weren't that far away from your parents'
Yeah,
house.
we
We
were
went
just
back and got
half a mile.
your S10, and we loaded it up or something.
We loaded it up,
happened.
and then anyway, it was a $200 part, and they came and fixed it. But
Yeah.
it was pretty wild driving down
it's
down
like,
the
oh,
highway, just
flames.
flames shooting out.
Yeah.
Thankfully, once the part everything melted inside of it, it didn't go
Right.
anywhere else besides that. So anyway, I kind of digressed a little bit there. So we were at the Black Horse, and I think we had taken the cycles there, and Bernie came out. He was parked right in the front there, and my Suzuki was black and red. And he said, "Nice bike." I said, "Nice car. I'll trade you straight up." He wasn't excited about that trade, but he got a good laugh out of it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
I think it was like 2019. It was before COVID. A squirrel ate through some of his wires on his Ferrari, and he had to take it up to the cities. And his loaner was a Bentley.
Oh darn!
Yeah, so I took it out to drive it around a little bit. I was amazed at the power that thing had. Although at the same time, the seat, I barely fit.
Oh yeah.
It's just a
And the
little
Ferrari
tiny
or
one.
the Bentley?
The Bentley.
Yeah.
It was still pretty sweet though.
yeah, those are V12s.
Well, the reason why I
Most
say
are
it is that,
V12s.
like The Rock always talks about how he can't fit in certain exotic
Oh,
sports
right.
car,
Yeah.
because he's so tall.
No.
Anyway, that's pretty funny.
I've sat in a Ferrari and a Lamborghini. I've never had an issue with fitting in those ones. Those ones were in
Really?
the passenger seats.
Okay, so this is past weekend. If you listened to last week's podcast, I'm putting two of my cars in. If I sell them, I'm going to get a Viper. Well, the Viper that I want is in Rochester. I sat in that thing. That baby hugs you on the sides. I don't think you would be liking that too darn much. So
It's like your Supra. I don't fit in that
Oh,
either.
I know. That's this is even worse. The bolsters on the side of that Viper, holy smokes, they're
Chris
thick.
is already talking about negatives about a car he doesn't
Yeah.
have yet.
No, you.
I give it about a year.
Yeah,
If it gets in about a year.
That's fine.
But as long as one of his
I
trucks.
want you to go back to this podcast, whatever date this airs.
Yep.
it's on Monday.
And then you can.
It's on Monday.
and then
We'll
you
even,
can- then
I'll
you'll-
even know if
and
my
then you'll
car's
say,
sold.
This hugs me so tight. I don't think you want to sit in it.
Yeah, well,
That's
he
gonna be his
might.
reason when he gets rid of it. Yeah, dog, be too tight.
Well, you never know. We're always wheeling and dealing and whatever. But I'll know when this comes out on Monday. I'll know if I've already sold the cars.
Well, and Bernie has a Shelby, one of the, I think a kit car.
Yeah, he's got the kit
So
one. Yep.
I don't know how he rides in that because his head has to be
His head was above the
8
one
inches
today.
above the windshield.
He's a tall guy.
He's just catching bugs on the way by. And he said the speedometer doesn't work, so he doesn't even know how fast he's driving half the time.
Let's go with the speed of traffic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's gotten me in trouble before.
All right, so Brett, now I got a question for you. You are an avid listener / watcher of the podcast, and the last time you were on, it was after the Masters tournament, and you said, I usually listen to it when I'm maybe running or doing whatever it is, but I like
The
to
podcast or the Masters?
the podcast.
Okay, yep.
You say you like to watch the podcast to see what the people are like wearing, just so you get an idea of what the people look like when they're talking.
and envision them in real time.
So going off the 6 month now, this is 6 months in. What was one of your favorite episodes? Is there one that stands out to you that you're like, hey, this one really was good, or something was great about it? Is there
Oof.
one that stands out to you? And
One-
Josh, you can answer the same thing if you're an avid listener.
One that really stands out. Gosh, I'm gonna have to go through. Give me a moment. I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go through the list.
I got mine ready.
You already got yours ready.
Yeah. No, I
Maybe
enjoyed
he's
it.
a better.
I don't know that I've listened to every single one.
That's
but
okay. You don't have to. We don't listen to every one of our favorite ones either.
I enjoyed your dad's, but that's because I understood what he was saying. I understood what he was talking about with some of the taxes and some of the changes, and I don't come across a ton of people that I can have conversations with about some of that stuff. So to listen to it and hear what he had to say about it, I don't know. I always enjoy that kind of stuff. And going back to it, I don't do as much accounting anymore. Yeah. I'm more of the leadership overseeing the finance stuff, and they occasionally have issues, and I'll help them with it. Yeah. I'd say probably since the buyout happened, I've been more involved. But overall, yeah, I definitely enjoyed his.
Well, that's why he felt you probably had to have a visor.
Right. And now I have a memento from that one.
Yes.
I don't think I have a favorite one necessarily. One of the things that I've found fascinating, and if I had to choose one, I probably would say Matt Fitzgerald. And the reason why I would say that is because I know him more on a personal level. Okay. But I learned a lot from the podcast, which I think I've told to you outside of this podcast, or shared similar beliefs on it. But that was it. Throughout all the episodes so far, Justin, I know Justin pretty well, so there wasn't a whole lot on Justin Edwards' episode, that I didn't know. Kind of same with your dad. I've heard a lot of those stories before.
Sure.
Obviously, he did a fantastic job, and it was nice that he was able to come on this forum, that these things are going to exist in the cloud and on the webs forever and ever and ever.
Sure.
So now it's nice that the same story that he shares with all of his close family and friends, those stories are now out there for the whole world to see, like, where he came from and how he became who he is. And so those are super fascinating. But with Matt's episode, I felt like I knew him, but got to know him so much deeper through listening to the podcast. Sure. That in fact, when he came over that night that when you hosted a Timberwolves party, as soon as he saw me, what's going on?
I got a picture of you two hugging.
Yes, we were hugging.
In my driveway.
And why were we hugging? What did we experience?
Well, the Northern Lights were happening.
Yes,
maybe that.
absolutely. And no one knew about it. We were all there. No one knew about it. We walked out there and
the Northern Lights were happening. You guys hugged because of it. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So that
Speaking
would probably
of which,
be, but all of them are really good, and it's fun to get somebody on a podcast for an hour or 2 hours and hear their stories or hear their beginnings of where they came from or how they got to be where they are, because everybody's got such a unique story, and that's what's so fascinating about it.
Yeah, I love that. And I told Fitzy, I said, hey, because I saw that he was at Nebraska at one of the golf courses he talked about.
That he talked about on the podcast.
Yeah, I saw he was there.
And I said, I remember hearing about that on Brews Cruise Podcast. Obviously, I tagged myself in that. But I texted him after. I said, hey, at the end of the year, you need to come back on and do a review or just talk about all those places that you said you wanted to go play, and let's talk about those again, because there's a big golf community out there, and it'll just be kind of an easy, relaxing one, I thought, for him to come back and say, okay, I came on in whatever, February, March, whatever it was, and here's what I did over the summer on the golfing. So I said maybe October, November, come back on, and then let's just go do a review. I think that'd be kind of fun, because now he can say, yep, I've golfed there. This is what was cool about it. This is what sucked about it, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I will say, I remember, was the night that you did the Andrew Elmquist interview, was that the draft night? Because then you came over, and I remember you showing me the bottles. And I remember feeling like an alcoholic because I told you exactly what every single one of them was from the silhouettes of the bottle.
He's like, I know that one. Oh, okay. And then you said, I gotta come on and I gotta bring on the big dogs. I wanna do the big dogs. And actually, crazy thing is, a stat for everyone, for those who don't know, your podcast in the audio is actually the top one with 140 downloads at the moment so far. Just as of today, is 140. It keeps going up. I don't know what's going on, what you said, but yours was number one so far.
Maybe 50 of them were for me today.
That's right.
Brett was on
there.
there.
Re-downloading
I was trying to get a refresh. Speaking of, that's a good segue to my next thing. So one of the, you'll have to forgive the character. Is it Phil? Is it Phil from Cheers, the mailman?
Yeah.
Phil. Okay. So during that part of episode 2,
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think that's right.
Well.
Yeah. Anyways.
The guy that knows all the facts.
Yep.
So
Is it the bartender guy?
No, he's a mailman.
You said the same thing in episode 2.
Yeah.
Is he the bartender?
I have no idea.
No,
I don't know. I've
mailman.
never watched Cheers.
Yeah. Cliff.
Cliff, that's right. Yeah, Cliffy.
Thank you. Hey, Curtis is
Thanks,
in the
little
background, by
Jamie
the way.
over there.
He's my Jamie.
Yep.
So, Curtis, thank you for that. Cliff.
Yep, that's right.
I do
you.
kind of feel like Theo Vaughn now.
This is
I
kinda
should feel like
sweet.
Theo
Yeah.
Vaughn because he always has his producers pull up
Yeah.
on the big screen.
And
the
Joe
Overlay,
Rogan.
yeah. Yep.
the
And-
overlay.
There's
Cliff.
armchair expert with Dak Shepard. He does the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel pretty
You
professional
better
now.
start paying him.
I do. I pay him
so
a beer. I
Cliff,
told him.
he knows all the random facts.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said that you knew a lot of random stuff, right?
Oh, I know some random stuff. I mean, depends on how random you're going to get.
So I want no. This isn't a quiz.
Okay.
This
Yes,
is.
it is.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a quiz. 'Cause
Trivia
you're gonna
night.
have to think of it off the top of your head. But I figure you can take like a minute and go through as much random facts of whatever you want for 1 minute straight of the most obscure things. It could be anything.
The thing is it doesn't. This is going to sound really stupid. It doesn't really work that way. Like it's. I'll get a question from somebody and I just have
And then
it.
you'll know.
It's not really like I have it at the ready, and honestly, my favorite thing that I reference when it comes to Cliff is the Buffalo Theory. Have you ever heard this?
No, I haven't.
Buffalo Theory. Here we go.
Do you know what it is?
Nope.
Or no?
Buffalo Trace, Buffalo Theories. Here
Right.
we go.
Well, it kind of actually does correlate.
right.
So, with a herd of buffalo, when they're attacked, they run away, and actually the weakest buffaloes will get attacked and get taken down, and then it will actually result in the herd as a whole becoming a much stronger, efficient unit when they're interacting. And in much the same way, the brain, when you drink alcohol, the weaker, less efficient brain cells are the ones that are attacked first, and resulting in the brain being a much more efficient, stronger, tool.
So we're getting smart.
So that's right. Yeah, that's how this works. It's the whole
Perfect.
Buffalo Theory.
That's a great way to lead into the next one that we're
That's
supposed
right.
to have.
Yeah. So these ones right here, and I don't know if did I mention that they're wheat based?
You know?
So before I switch, what this is these are Buffalo Trace's wheat recipe. And what that means is they're all bourbons, which is 51% corn. The secondary grain is wheat, and the third grain is barley. So that's different because a typical bourbon that you'll see is the second grain is rye. So
Okay.
these ones are all the wheat ones. Now the next ones I'm putting up here are actually all the same recipe as well.
All right.
Which I keep referring to them as recipes, but if you look at it online or something like that, it'll come up as a mash bill.
I'll take those other ones, Josh, and I'll put them over here.
Oh, okay.
So you don't get them mixed up and have double. We would hate for that. All right.
So those three right there.
Okay, what do we got in front of us here? Wow, we got a box, literally a cylinder
Yep.
box.
So
Ooh.
So we have traditional Buffalo Trace. That is Stag Junior. For anyone who cares, it's batch 17. And
Yeah, you hear that? Batch 17.
so this one right here, they have special batches that are released every twice a year usually.
Okay.
This is the last one that was known as Stag Junior. You see the little junior right there?
Oh yeah, sure.
So, and that has absolutely no significance other than the fact that Buffalo Trace dropped the junior and made it just Stag, which made this one that much more collectible.
And you brought
But
it
I
here
didn't
for
know that when I
us?
bought it.
Yeah, but you brought it here for
Right,
us to
yeah.
have. Wow.
And the only way you can tell the difference is because every single one of them has a different proof. That one's going to...
So they don't make them exactly the same.
Nope, they're all different. So this one right here
Oh, really? Every one of them is different.
has a different proof to it.
Oh,
Yep.
cool.
So this one right here is 64.35% alcohol.
So to put some hair on your chest,
Yep.
Brett. If you didn't already
So-
have it.
And this is actually another barrel proof, and that's actually why I brought this one, because same mash bill, different flavors though. This one is 63.65% alcohol.
Which one are we supposed to do first?
Why don't we do this one?
Let her rip, huh?
I do want to give a shout out to the standard Buffalo Trace, our friend Justin Hoffman over in Milwaukee. That's his favorite bourbon. And he was at a New Year's Eve party one night with one of our friends, and he carried the bottle around the whole night because he thought somebody was going to take it. So he's just walking from room to room with a bottle. He was drinking out of a glass. He just had the bottle in his left hand.
Add a little bit more every time.
So Justin Hoffman.
You thought he had something pretty special, huh?
Yeah.
And it is good. I mean, it is very good. The problem is that Buffalo Trace, so that's a 175. A normal 750 milliliter, it should be a $30 bottle, $28 bottle, something like that. But most of the time when you're finding it, it's $50 to $60 a piece. I think I paid $65 for that. It's not uncommon to see it for $100.
Sure.
Which is just crazy because it's not. I mean, it's good.
For that size bottle,
gosh.
it should be 30, or for the smaller one.
That one should be 65.
Yeah.
But the 7.5 should be
Most of the
$30.
places that I've actually found that at, which haven't been in this area, are in that like $25 to $35 range.
Right. Yeah. But here in Winona, you're going to pay $50 to $60.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Take a whiff of this one. This one's going to take the hair
I'll
off your
just
nose.
take the hair right out of your nose for you.
Just pure.
Well, it's got a delightful smell.
So this is one that it doesn't hurt to swirl it a little bit to get that ethanol off.
Let's do it. I've been doing it.
Now, this is...
Yeah, it's got a really good smell to it.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people say this is one, and I brought it up at the last podcast, actually.
All right.
That as you get to some of the higher proofs, you can get some more of those different tannins in there and the different flavors and things. You can actually get some cherry out of these.
Cherry flavor out of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It depends on the palate because you have the occasional person that as soon as you drink it, the first thing they hit is the back of the throat, so all they notice is the burn. And when you do that, yeah, you're not going to get it because what picks up those flavors is the side of your tongue and, the areas on your tongue. Because as soon as it hits your throat, all you're focused on is that, oh my God, this burns.
This just didn't burn that much as I was expecting it.
I know that Chris is on TikTok. Are you on TikTok at all?
No, because I ended up just watching food stuff and being hungry all the time.
Yeah, there was this guy. There was this guy on TikTok, and I haven't seen him for probably about a year. But he was doing a daily video of he was going to keep trying a different kind of bourbon or scotch until he enjoyed the taste of it. And I can't remember what his name is. And I don't know if it all of a sudden stopped coming on my news feed. So I don't know if he worked for a company that said, "Hey,
you need to stop this.
You need to quit doing this." But he would just take the smallest amount, and the facial expression out of him, it was every one of them were so epic. It would just be. Nope. Yeah. And then it would be like, drop a little water in there, put a little ice, or all the different variations that people try. Unfortunately, I think I made it to 30 some days, and on 2 of the videos, he started to taste stuff in it.
Oh, yeah.
That was as far as he got, and he never, from what I could see, he never got to enjoy it, which was funny. But
and some people just don't have the palates for it, and that's fine. And even I enjoy good tequilas. There's some aged rums that I've enjoyed.
Give me an aged rum that you've enjoyed, because I'm a rum kind of person too.
Appleton Estate 12-year.
Okay.
That's one. And you can't go into
dark?
it.
Dark or what?
Yep. So it's not, I don't enjoy spiced rum. I know you like your Captain Morgan.
I like Captain Private Stock, yes.
But I'm not a huge on the sweet stuff.
Okay.
And that's where I just can't do it. But Appleton Estate 12-year, it's like $35. It's nothing.
And you just put it on the rocks, or is
just on the rocks.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, actually, the first couple times I drank it neat just to try it because I wanted to know what it tasted like.
Yeah. Right.
And I kind of like it colder. And I'm the same way when it comes to tequilas. I like those a little colder.
I put mine in the freezer. When I don't remember what episode, but with Marcus Teachout, I put it in the freezer before I brought it here, and it was nice and chilled, and it was so good.
Have you ever had jalapeno tequila?
Yeah.
So we just had it this past Saturday. We were down at the marina, and our friend Matt, when he was down in Palm Beach Island this past March, had a drink, and it was excuse me, a jalapeno and pineapple tequila. So he was able to find some here in town, and so we had that and mixed it with Fresca. It was actually delightful, and I'm not typically a tequila guy.
Yeah. No,
It's actually pretty delightful.
Yeah, and some of the flavored ones, I enjoy the addition of it. I don't mind the infused ones, where they age it and then they let the after they age it or whatever they're going to do, they put the jalapenos or whatever it is they're going to infuse it with and let it just sit in there for a little while and steep, and then pull them out so that it has a little bit of an essence to it. I don't mind that. I don't like that pickle vodka you had where they just throw in all those artificial things.
That's
And
so
then
And I
nasty.
don't know what this one.
So nasty.
This definitely. I'm not really big on spicy drinks, spicy cocktails.
Yeah.
So this one definitely didn't have that like overwhelming spice to it. So I suspect that maybe that's what they did is infused it
Infused it,
versus
yeah.
like artificially
Right.
put the
Stuck
flavor
something
in.
into
Yeah.
it. No. And I end up. So I like doing things with drinks. I like bourbon's my thing, but
Right. Yep.
my wife, she likes gin. She likes all these other things. She doesn't drink a ton, but when she drinks it, she has specific things she likes.
You were telling
And-
me about that on Sunday, like you were mixing drinks or something one
Yeah,
time.
so a lot of the times she'll come up, I want to try this. And so I'll try and find a recipe that'll do it and that I can do it for her. And you can't find some of that stuff around here. So I made my own lavender syrup. I made my own raspberry, and I did my own blueberry syrup. And Curtis has had this one. I make one that's it's vodka, and then I make a mint syrup and a jalapeno syrup for the summer. That's oh my god, it's good.
Shout out to Curtis. Shout out to Curtis.
Yeah. Oh,
Our
look at
sound
that.
guy.
He knows what I'm talking about. He enjoys it.
I suppose
Yeah.
you could use the mint one for like mojitos.
Oh yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, and syrup's not hard. Everyone's intimidated by making it, but essentially, if I want to make a raspberry syrup, I do 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of water, put raspberries in it, and let it steep for 45 minutes, and just sit there and boil and go.
Okay.
And that's all it is. And then you strain off the raspberries, and whatever's left is the syrup.
Oh,
And it's the same
okay.
thing. The only thing different was when I made the lavender syrup, it came out clear because it kind of works like a tea because it's an herbal thing.
Okay.
So technically it was lavender blueberry just so I could make it purple. So that it looked better.
Yeah.
But I mean, all the rest of them, it's nothing to it. It's just,
Yep.
it seems like such a try hard thing to do. But it's fun, and there's so many people that enjoy it. And truthfully, I don't like half those drinks, but everybody else does. So I
sure.
like doing
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, at least you're willing to make it for your wife. That's
Yeah.
pretty nice of you to do. You're like, hey, I'll figure it out, and then I'll can make syrup for you.
I'll be honest, I look for it at the store first.
Oh, he's trying to get the easy way out.
Yeah,
All right.
But,
That's okay.
I mean, in this town, you can't find a whole lot of things. When
Sure.
it comes to syrups, you get grenadine and simple syrup for the most part.
That's that's about it.
Yep.
So now my
basics.
next question for you two guys, going back to 6 months podcast, what are some things that off the top of your head that I should do to improve the podcast and the process of what has been led up to now 22 episodes in, this being the 23rd? What are some things that I should be doing better at?
Can I turn the question around?
Sure.
What do you feel that you've done good, and what do you feel that you could possibly improve on, or what notes have you taken throughout this process?
So I've gotten feedback, so this is good. A lot of it from my wife. However, there's people that listen, and they say the episodes keep getting better, each one individually. And I haven't gone back and watched episode 1, 2, 3, and 4 again to see how it sounded.
I mean, 2 seemed pretty damn good.
Well, 2's got a pretty good review.
Well, I listened to it like one and 3/4 times.
He listened to it 139 times. Someone else did it one time.
Well, my
It's
kids
probably-
did today. I told you that.
Today, yes. I've heard that the flow of the podcast has gotten better with me directing it, basically with questions. And the one thing though, I kind of mixed reviews on. My wife said I should have a few questions already ready to go for whoever's on, and then let the rest of it flow. Whereas every time I've done these, this has just been freestyling. So that might be something I need to improve. Is I need to already have a few questions already made up that would get people interested, and then let the rest of it flow off of that, which is totally understandable. Sometimes though, when I have someone on that I know, like my dad, it was not that it was hard. It was just that I knew the answers to the questions. So it was like, okay, I'm asking questions that I know the answers to, but the listener doesn't, or the viewer on YouTube does not know it. So I feel like that's maybe something I need to work on, is having some questions maybe ready that would engage people that would be interested as you're listening. Another thing is getting more on social media, which I've been working on the last maybe month. I've been making TikTok videos, putting reels out there on Instagram, on Facebook, just getting out there more into the public eye, with doing those things that might pop up on something and then they go, ooh, I heard something I like. I want to go and check out this podcast. So I don't think for me, when I get to sit down with people like you guys or anybody, even if I don't know them that well, it's very fun for me. And I love not having questions. I love not knowing the guests sometimes, because all my questions are very, very, they're not generic questions. I'm generally interested in what they have to say, because I don't know the answer to it, which is the best part, I think. So things that I've thought have been going well is that I've had it sounding pretty professional, and as hard as I thought it would be to make things come out on a weekly basis, I thought I've done a pretty good job at, because I have not once missed a Monday. I've spent, like last week, I got up Sunday morning as early as I could, and edited everything so it was ready to come out Monday morning at 5 a.m. So those are some things I need to work on, is probably having some questions already made up for the guests, or doing some background research on them. There's some podcasts you'll listen to. They go, oh, you really did your research on me.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, a lot of the times there's celebrities that, people are like, oh, I want to listen to what that celebrity has to say. But right now, we're just in the local community. So and the next thing, my goal is to continue finding people within the local community, and even a little bit outside of Winona. So maybe people will understand, just because if you listen, let's say you're in California right now, nobody's going to be like, oh, yeah, I can't wait to hear about these people in Winona talking about whatever.
Right, yeah.
But a celebrity would be. And I've been working on getting, maybe not a celebrity, but people that some people might know.
Well, you have two celebrities here.
Two celebrities,
Right,
yeah.
obviously, yeah.
Brett's a three-time guest.
podcast.
You got
Caster.
the most downloads. You don't have the most views on YouTube. I think that one goes to Fitzy. I think Fitzy has the most views on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what that's the other thing I got a goal on, is what makes things click. Is it just the algorithm? Is that all it is? Or why do some podcasts take off and some don't? And one person said, your guests need to share it on social media. It just gets more people out there. And my wife said the same thing, Stephanie, and hers is the third most downloaded and watched.
And I like where you're going with the short snippets. Was that
Yep.
T-Loose that you had on two episodes ago?
Thomas Gary.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he had talked about that, and obviously he has experience in social media world. But I think sometimes people might feel overwhelmed, like, oh, it's just another thing I'm supposed to share. And I'm not saying like the guests necessarily, but maybe just people that see it on their timeline. Oh, that's cool. Or it's just another thing I have to share, whatever the case may be. I've noticed that most of the time I've listened to the episodes, like before the videos get posted, like the short videos get posted. So I usually know what it is, but I see more of those, and I'm more drawn to that, me personally.
To the short videos?
To the short videos.
Okay.
Which is a lot of times, and I'm not like, this past weekend's probably a big podcast that I've been listening to over the course of the
Theo's?
past. Yeah, Theo Vaughn's. Over the past few months, I trained to it because it was a longer podcast.
Yep.
And typically I listen, sometimes I would save your podcast for run days, but a lot of times Monday was done while I was still running 4 other days during the week.
Right. Yep.
So and his were longer, so they'd get me through my longer mile runs. And sometimes one of the things that'll draw me in, Kid Rock's episode, for instance, that was one that came across my timeline, and I just went, okay, I'll go watch that one. I didn't even know. And now I'm more like invested into the podcast, so I'll actually click on it, and I'm subscribed to it. So when there's a new one comes out, it pops up on my timeline or whatever. But prior to that, I'd forget about it, and then I'd see, short video. Oh, I got to go watch that.
Okay.
So I think my personal take on that would be, I think those shorts you'll probably see more traction from those shorts than just share.
That's what my wife said, too.
I think people will see stuff on their timeline, and sometimes I do this, and I don't go on Facebook a lot to like scroll, just mindlessly scroll by any means, but if I see something, sometimes I'll just scroll right past and not even think to click the share button. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll hit like. Sometimes things don't pop up on my feed. Sometimes things do. We've been through that with your real estate business where I've gone months and I have not seen a post from his real estate, especially back when you were doing your wrestling stuff. I would see wrestling, no real estate. And then I would go back. You'd say, I'm posting basically the same amount of content.
Yeah.
And so I'd go back and look, and I'm like, it's about a horse apiece for your content sharing between your professional wrestling and your real estate. But for whatever reason, I wasn't seeing, and I wasn't sharing either of them more or less. So it's the most random stuff. But those shorts, the point of where I'm going, I'm kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent. But I think those shorts are what really probably are.
Yeah, it must have to do with algorithms. I mean, that's what Thomas or T. Lou said. He said algorithm, if you hit one time, it'll make a big difference. But then if you hit that one time, you better be on it every single day now.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would agree with him because because my big one is Rogan that I'll listen to, and there's a couple other ones. But if I see it, I'll be like, I need to go listen to that one.
Yeah,
he talked about something I'm interested in. I want to go listen to the whole thing. The other thing, obviously, he's going to give you an advantage because he has capabilities.
Who's he?
Curtis.
Oh, Curtis, the sound
He's going
guy?
to give you the advantage
Also
because if you could move it over there, the capabilities that you'll have when it comes to
producer.
IT-wise. Yeah,
The
the producer over there.
Yeah.
He'll make it so you can do things that you haven't been able to do so far.
That would, and I'm always looking to expand, do new things, whatever it is to make this thing be successful. I mean, if it's a slow growth, cool. If it's a fast growth, better. But I'll just keep doing it because I actually love doing this. Like right now, it's Wednesday at 9 o'clock at night, and we're sitting here doing this. And I'm like, cool. I'll do this at 2 a.m. if necessary, whatever it takes to get people that want to come on or their schedules.
The last thing that I was going to say is it's kind of an add-on to what Stephanie said, and this actually goes back to something that I do with employees even, is that it's okay to have questions planned.
Sure. 100%.
But it's better if you can form them in a way that allows them to lead the direction.
Oh.
So what it is, if I say, I know what I want. I know I want a report that says this, this, and this. But I say, this is what I want, give it to me. And
in a question?
So with you, when it comes to this, you say, I want to go in this direction.
Sure.
Hey, I saw you've been doing this, and then let them take that and lead it into the direction that they're going.
Okay.
And what they're doing. Because it allows them to talk about not only how they've developed from where they were to where they are, but it also allows them to get comfortable.
Sure.
Because talking about, we get step back here a little bit, but when you speak, you get nervous. And the more you're familiar with what it is that you're talking about, the more comfortable you are talking about it in front of other people. Well, no one's more comfortable or familiar with anything else but themselves.
Sure.
So given the opportunity to talk about the developments that they've had, it's those leading questions. And that's what I'm saying where it comes to those employees is lead them to where you want them to go.
Gotcha.
Let them have the ability to learn and realize that they know the answer and they know where they're going. And that's what I do with some of my employees is you get to the point where put the question out there, knowing that as a result of that question, they'll get to where they're going.
Sure.
And it's the same thing with this, that if you know that they want to talk about a car or something like that, talk about whatever it was that got them to that point. And then they can develop the story through that.
Good. This is good advice. And we didn't have any of these questions planted. I literally asked you, and you just came up with, this is what you should do. This is what I do.
It's a buffalo theory.
It's a buffalo theory.
That's right. No, absolutely. And to kind of piggyback off of what he's saying, avoid the yes or no questions. And I'm not saying that
Right.
you have been down that road of yes or no questions, but avoid the yes or no questions. Tell me about that. Let them speak. Go on. Or what led you to that?
Sure.
I mean, yes, you're the host. Yes, you're facilitating this conversation. But it doesn't mean that as the host, and I'm not speaking exclusively for this podcast, but it doesn't mean you're the one speaking the most.
Right.
Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
No,
you're
just
facilitating the direction of where this is going.
Right.
I was listening to about the first, as we started this podcast off in about the first 10 to 15 minutes, it was you two talking about
Right.
the whole leadership role. You guys were just going back and forth, and I was just listening to it, basically just sitting here.
I think it always goes back to the why, and this, I don't know if it's a question that I have for you necessarily, but maybe if you're looking back on the past 6 months, what was the reason to do this? Why did you get into it? What about it? What about this excited you? And that might answer some of those. Like, what's the why? Right? For me, if I were to do a podcast, it would be I want to learn. I want to share the message that my guests have with the entire world or with whoever is watching it. So, and that's kind of what you were saying, where first however long of this podcast, it was just Josh and I sitting here having a conversation. Like, that should be the goal, right? Is we're here just having a conversation. Now these conversations are going to be cemented into the cloud until the end of time.
Yeah.
They're going to be stored on a server somewhere for eternity.
Well, I mean, I think Rogan even talks about that with his, is that ideally you're a fly on the wall while we have a conversation.
Sure.
And that's really how it's designed. So, no, I mean, every single one I've listened to, I've enjoyed.
Well, that's good.
I mean, Fitz was definitely one of my favorites too. I enjoyed his a ton.
Good.
So
That must be why I got the most views on YouTube so far.
Yeah.
Well, let's head into the next.
Okay,
whatever
so
one we're supposed to have, Josh.
We're going to go into the other barrel proof and see the difference. Similar proofs.
To the Stag Junior.
Yep.
Okay.
So, I mean, getting a similar color, but you're going to get a little bit different flavor profile.
All right. Sounds good. So this is the Colonel E.H. Taylor barrel proof.
For the bourbon nerds out there, it's batch 9.
Bourbon nerds. You nerds. There you go.
I'll probably skip this round.
That's okay. I'm just going a little bit. Yeah.
That's all good. All right. So let's see what we got here with this bad boy. I'm going to turn that there. I'm going to have to tag so many different bourbon places. I don't know. Do I just tag like Buffalo Trace?
Well, these are all
Buffalo.
Buffalo Trace. Actually, so
Just tag Buffalo Trace.
this is my Buffalo Trace shirt.
Taylor and Stag and Blanton and Elmer and
Harlan.
was it
These
supposed to be
are
like the reindeer? Or what? Look at
It's
this.
the Buffalo Trace reindeer. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's actually the master distillers of Buffalo Trace.
Oh, so these things are named after them?
So, E.H. Taylor, Colonel
Yeah.
E.H. Taylor
Okay.
was a distiller.
Okay. Let me see
George
this.
T. Stagg was a distiller at Buffalo Trace.
So is this a picture of Taylor?
Yep.
Supposedly with his
Yep.
top hat? A
I
top
don't
hat.
know.
Maybe.
Blanton, I don't remember it. Blanton's full name. Elmer T. Lee and Harlan
Elmer T.
Wheatley, I think it is.
Okay.
Yep.
So you got your Buffalo Trace shirt on.
Yeah, I brought it for this.
That's a
yeah.
good segue into conversation about shirts.
Yeah, no.
So speak about your shirt.
Okay,
Chris.
so I just, for those who are watching, I'm wearing a Jacobson real estate jersey because I just came from softball.
With the hat,
Oh,
too.
yeah, sorry. I made this hat also at the Mall of America for $66. It was expensive, but I figured put the name on there. If you're looking on the side, it says 45, which is my number. And on the back, if you've been watching, it says sold. So, Brett, what's your shirt all about here now? You got the Nashville.
So this is my Nashville half marathon shirt, the rock and roll half marathon that I ran. I think it was April. Was the date on here?
April 27th.
27th.
About a month ago.
Yep.
Okay.
So
How'd that go for you?
good, really good. I PR'd, which means for all those people out there that aren't familiar with that, it's a personal record.
Yep.
So I did a personal best on a half marathon. So that was I was pretty excited about that. When I was training up for it, I had the goal to do that. I felt like I was in a good spot to do that. But the rock and roll half in Nashville there was quite the elevation change. So I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go with those hills, but ended up pulling it off. So
Did you run with your wife?
yes, so Allison and I both ran it.
Did you finish at the same time, or did you guys go off on your separate ways after so long?
We did not finish at the same time. I don't remember what her time was, but she was a little ways behind me.
Okay. What did you finish yours in?
It was just under 2.5 hours, like 2:29
Sure.
and some change.
Yep.
I think it was.
Not much of a marathon runner. Did your nipples bleed? I heard about that happening.
No, so they never
Put tape on them.
They never. They always say never say never when it comes to running. And I'll be the first. And I don't know if I've talked about any of the other episodes of the podcast. I'll be the first to admit I was the one that said I'll never run a half marathon in my entire life, and that was 9 years ago that I said that, and I'm on number 5 now.
Oh wow!
So
that's awesome.
So his nipples are really raw.
Well,
So it was a very interesting thing, and the incentive that got me there was when I met Allison. She was running. Her goal was to run 50 in all 50 states, and she was running them. So when we first started dating, I traveled to a couple places.
You mean half marathons?
Half marathons.
Okay,
Yep. So we'd gone out to Grand Teton National Park. They do a vacation race series where you do it at national parks. Oh, this is pretty cool, and everybody's super friendly, and there's people of every size, shape, and everything that are running these things. Okay, and they get this medal at the end. And I said, well, I've ran some 5Ks and some 1 mile races. I don't ever get a medal. It's a true story. So I asked her
for the medal.
So what do I got to do to get a medal? And she goes, well, you're going to have to run a little further than 3.1 miles.
Make your nipples bleed. You get a medal.
No, and that's never happened, by the way. So that must be a you problem.
It's a Josh problem.
Okay. So that's a you problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she said, you're going to have to run. So I said, okay, what do I got to do? So then that's signed up for my first half marathon and been chugging away ever since. So
No, that's cool.
Nashville was beautiful. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
What have you all done?
So let's see. My first one was in Dubuque, Iowa. So Nashville might have been my 4th, and I'm on 5th. I'm not really training for one, but I'm keeping myself in ready mode in case there's one that we can sign up for. So Dubuque, Iowa was my first one, and that was definitely my worst one. It was 107 degrees, which is super unfortunate because the trail, it was an out and back, and it was flat, and it was nice, and it just did not work at all. The heat was so bad.
And which was Dubuque?
Dubuque, Iowa was like the end of June. It was a 2019. And that's what actually Allison ran her first full marathon, that same race. So I did the Dubuque one. I've done Joshua Tree, which is a vacation race, Joshua Tree National Park one. I did Glacier last summer or the summer before.
My in-laws live out there.
That was beautiful. It was
that's an amazing
Montana?
area. Yeah.
about 6.5 miles up the mountain, and then you got to go about 7 miles-ish down the mountain.
That's kind of
Down
cool,
was
I guess.
Definitely the more enjoyable part. Well, it was all kind of enjoyable. It was all kind of enjoyable. It was really beautiful. So we got Dubuque, Iowa, Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree was very unique because it was at night, but it was like running on a sandy, rocky beach because the entire thing was on sand and rocks and everything. Joshua Tree National Park, we did Glacier, and then now I've done the rock and roll.
That's cool.
Nashville.
Nice.
And Nashville was a blast. We ran right through downtown.
Oh,
right through
that'd be cool.
Lower Broad. It was a very short part of it. You only ran like 4 blocks of Lower Broad.
Okay.
Through all the bars, and then you cut over and then went back up. But then it took you all through Music Row. So that was super fascinating to see. Actually, there was a couple of, I won't name any names, but there was a couple of country music stars that either lived on the route or knew somebody that lived on the route that I actually ran into along the race.
Why can't you say their name?
I'm not gonna throw anybody out there because if they have the same route, I don't want to give anything away.
Now, did any chairs come flying at you?
And there was no chairs.
Okay, good.
No.
Morgan Wallen was out of town that day.
And we didn't go. He was actually, and we didn't go down past Chiefs. Well, I mean, I did check out Chiefs Friday before the race. We actually had lunch there at Eric Church's new bar down there. And it was phenomenal. He's got a barbecue restaurant on the 5th floor.
Yeah.
Very, very good food.
Did you go to the Kid Rock bar? Were you there too?
Kid Rock's a staple when we go down there.
Sure.
We really seem to enjoy ourselves when we go down there.
What
I checked
part?
out the new Garth bar.
Oh, there's a new Garth bar
Yeah,
too.
Friends in
Okay.
Low Places. That was super fascinating. I think he did a really good job. It's got a pretty good vibe to it. So that was new. We went checked out Chiefs. That was new. That was really cool. As far as the bars go.
Oh, yeah, you sent us that because obviously.
And then Kid Rock's we always gravitate towards.
So what about Kid Rock's is unique or just draws you to it? Are you a Kid Rock fan or is it something
I've
about
always
the
been a Kid Rock fan.
Yeah.
Growing up, obviously, you and I used to listen to him all the time.
Yeah, middle finger on the old CD, Mr. Sandberg
I'm
taught
not as
me.
big of a Kid Rock fan anymore. I still am I still am a Kid Rock fan, but I don't know if I'd buy a ticket to go to a concert. I like his music just as much, but I think it's just different stages of my life. But and Alice and I both we can't put our finger on what it is. It's always a good time.
It's got to be the atmosphere, is my
there's-
guess then.
There's just floors upon floors of music. So
That's cool.
And always the first floor has
Yep.
excellent bands. But then if you want to go to the third or the fourth floor, and it's just they go by like 0.5. So you have like floor 1, and then it's like 2.5.
That's how it goes there? What the hell? They have a half
There's like
floor?
half
It's like a little
floors
half
on
floor.
different levels depending on which one you go to. But I mean, Nashville's just a good time all around. It always is. They have excellent live music. So the first night we were there, we got down there Thursday. We went to where did we go first? And we ended up at Alan Jackson's bar. I don't remember.
Alan Jackson has one too?
If we checked out any
there's
other
a lot of
places,
them.
to be honest, we might have gone to like maybe one other bar. But we went to Alan Jackson's bar, ended up on the second floor, and listened to it's just a solo singer-songwriter, and phenomenal.
Yeah, a lot of people get discovered there
We
too. don't
ended
they?
up staying there the whole night until we went home, and it was just a blast.
Yeah.
Just played old 90s country. I have nothing but great things to say about Lower Broad. It's always a fun time. It's always exciting.
So going back to the marathon portion, Josh, I have run a marathon. In 2011, I ran the Des Moines one. My nipples did not bleed. Just so you know.
Okay.
However, I didn't do the proper training for it. I bet Brett's run longer distances on his training for a half marathon than I ever did for my full marathon in the training program. What was the furthest you ever had to run on a weekend?
On a weekend?
Or whatever.
my
What was your longest run?
My longest run, not this round. I trained up to 10 miles for this half. My first half, I trained up to it was a 12 or 12 and a half.
I did 11 for the full. So that was
Yeah.
the thing. So my schedule was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 4, 4, 4, 4. And then on Saturday, it was a longer one. Eventually, it was supposed to go all the way up to like 20 or 22 miles. I think the longest one I ever ran was 11. That's all I can remember. And I still finished the thing in 4 hours and 58 minutes, dragging and limping my right leg through. But I was coming down the final stretch, and I didn't really have a time. I just wanted to finish it, obviously, to say I did a marathon. Because my girlfriend at the time said, "Hey, do you want to do a half marathon or a marathon?" I go, "Oh, God, that sounds terrible." It was. But I said, if I'm going to do one, I don't want to say I did a half. I want to say I did a full. So we're just going to go do the full because I don't know. That's just what I am, I guess. And so we did it. And she was living in Iowa in the summers. I was up here. So we were training separately. And then as we get together, we'd run on the weekends and do our thing. We only got to 11.5 miles. But as I was coming down that final stretch, I remember there's a big sign up there. It said the time. And I go, I think it's like 4 hours and 55 minutes. I go, I have to limp my ass across this line before 5 hours. And that's exactly what I did. I limped my legs across because, Brett, you probably know this. They always talk about a wall you hit. Well, I hit that wall at mile 18. At mile 18, I was like, there's still 8 more miles left. Holy cow. And that's when the pain set in, and then I drug my ass the last 8 miles, limping my leg across, walking, jogging. And I was like, oh, my gosh, this sucks so bad. But, every stop, I got water and goo. You probably got goo, too.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually I stopped sweating. And I was like, oh, God, that's not good either.
Yeah.
And so I probably didn't do the proper training. I don't know if I'll ever do another one again.
What was your pace?
So I finished a half in 2 hours even. They had a
What
little
was the
thing
pace for your full?
Oh, gosh, probably 11 minutes. Well, I mean, break
still
down 4 hours and 58 minutes. Take your little calculator. 4 hours and 58 minutes, and then divide that down by 26.2, and that was my pace. Probably somewhere between 11 and 13 minutes.
That's still pretty decent. One thing that I want people to know, and I'm not saying for criticizing you or anything. I certainly am not criticizing.
11.46 was my pace.
There you go, 11.5 minute miles.
And the first half, just before you go on to your thing, I was going past the half marathon point at exactly 2 hours, I believe it was. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to finish this in 4 hours. I think that's good. As I was doing that, the guy from Kenya was coming by me, going the other end on like mile 18. I'm like,
was it an out and back?
God, well, I can't remember. We went through like Drake University. It was in Des Moines, Iowa. So Des Moines one, for anybody listening, the Des Moines, Iowa one is the one I did in 2011. So whatever that route was, the one thing that was really unique, and I'm sure you know that too, because there was like bands playing. As I'm running, there's like...
Was it a rock and roll?
No, it wasn't rock and roll.
It wasn't a rock. So the rock and roll series, it's a series. They do them all over. And they have bands about every mile.
No, it was like just random small bands playing. Like there's people sitting on their driveways and watching people run by, and it was like an event. And I'm like, this is so weird. I'm literally running for their enjoyment.
It's the parade.
That's what was so. That was what, and it helps. It does.
It does help.
I'll get back to my original thing after I say this. Is that throughout the entire half in Nashville, there was not one spot. I mean, I'm talking one spot that was not lined with people. Every house we passed, every business we passed, every road we were on, it was like being in a parade for 13.1 miles. It was so cool. And it gives you that extra boost, right? Like you're like, I got this. I have it. It's going to be fine. I'm going to be able to do good. Now, going back to what I was saying earlier, one of the things that allowed me, I think, to have the confidence to start running these longer distances is the fact that, oh my gosh, I don't have to necessarily run the full thing if I can't. Right. That always intimidated me, like, to the fullest. Because there's no way I can possibly run 13.1 miles. I had never trained at this point except for running like a 5K, which is 3.1 miles. You're talking, add an additional 10 miles to my journey. I don't know if I can do it. Well, as I was watching a couple of Allison's races, people were like walking throughout it or stopping and taking a break. And actually in Dubuque, it was so hot that I was pacing at 2.5, and I stuck with the pacer up until probably the last mile or two. And she was at a 2.5 pace, which was what my goal was for that race. And she had a walk-run training plan where you ran for a certain amount of time, walked for a little bit, ran for a certain amount of time, walked for a little bit. So I think that's one of the fascinating things about this, and I think this is what, if anybody's on the fence or contemplating doing one, there's a lot of people that will walk part of it or have a walk-run training plan. So it's really something that anybody can truly do if they want to do it.
I agree with that. Like, you don't have to be intimidated with it. You got to run the whole thing. Everyone's judging you. No, nobody's
It's one of the most judgment-free zones that I probably have ever been to. Everybody's super encouraging. You're all going to the same place. They're all there to help. They're all there to lift you up and to boost your spirits. And
it's really, like you said, it's really just personal record. If you're trying to beat your own personal record, you're not trying to. Most likely, you weren't working on trying to qualify, as I was not for the Boston Marathon, because you do have to qualify for those ones. But you were just there to try it, and now all of a sudden it seems like you're in love with doing these things.
Absolutely, and I ran the whole thing on this Nashville one, and it was one of the first ones that I've ran completely all of the entire race. The Joshua Tree ran first 7 miles or so. Then my knee started. I had some knee issues between my first and my second one, so then I ended up walking quite a bit of that one. Glacier, obviously, the elevation gain was ridiculous. So we walked part of that one, ran part of it. But it's just super cool. And Jelly Roll, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Jelly Roll,
I think
the
we're
artist.
all familiar.
He just ran his first 5K.
I saw that.
Participated in the 5K. I don't know if he ran or walked or whatever he did. He participated and completed the first 5K. And his next goal is to run a half marathon.
Cool.
And I'm sure because of who he is raising tons of money for this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And giving back to a lot of charities or giving back to where all the, I mean, he's a philanthropist about everything that he does.
It's really, his story is so cool. He had a speech when he won, I don't know, you probably know better than I do. He won an award for like best new artist.
It was either CMAs or ACMs.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He gave a speech that I will not forget. I was getting goosebumps listening to it. I'm like, that was so cool because he's come a long ways. Because wasn't he in jail and all that?
Yeah. Yep.
And he's like 40 or so, and he just got best new artist. So he's like, you can make this happen no matter what age you are. Because some people, they're like, oh man, I'm in my 30s. Yeah, that's out the back door, and it's like that's never gonna happen for me. But that's bullshit. People got to understand, like, you can start new at 40. I think my wife even said, like, some of the best actors that we know, like George Clooney, he didn't even start acting until like his late 30s or 40s.
Right.
And he's built a career of it. And so you can do these things, even if it's half marathons, 5Ks, whatever you need to start at. You can do it at any age, and you can continue to do these things as long as you put your mind to it. That is.
Well, and just when you think Jelly Roll can't get any better and can't do more, then he goes and does this, and you're like, "Oh my goodness!" He
right.
And like you
runs
say,
the 5K, and then now he's like, "I ran this. I'm gonna do a half marathon."
Sure.
Think of what he's doing for a whole different community of people that are in similar situations, whether it's they feel like they've had a rough, upbringing or a rough, whatever the case may be, and now he's out there doing it. People see that, and they say, somebody like me is going and doing this. I can do that too.
Yep. And
I
people
think
got to realize
that's
that.
just so fascinating to me. I think it's one of the coolest things.
And
ever.
then being able to develop the change, because I think he was with Insane Clown Posse. Is that who it was that he was before? He was touring with them.
He was doing some sort of rap, but I don't know if he was touring.
It might have been. It's quite
I'm pretty
possible.
sure he did some touring with them, and then now he's doing
we'll
country.
We'll give Curtis a moment to check that out here while we discuss things. But he can look up the Insane Clown Posse Jelly Roll.
Yeah, the Jelly Roll and ICP tour together.
Yeah, and I mean, but the thing is to be able to develop your career and change things. I mean, whether it's Darius Rucker and from Hootie and the Blowfish, or or Post Malone now going to country.
I knew Posty was going country
Oh.
for when he released his
the Brad Paisley remix.
Paisley.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss her. And I don't know when he released that one, but obviously now with his most recent release with Morgan Wallen, then his Twitter. Whatever it was from 2017, they said by the time I'm 30, I'm going to become a country artist. So I don't know if that was before or after the Brad Paisley remix. But when I saw that Brad Paisley remix, I said, guarantee it, he's going to go country.
The thing is
he's just dropping to see how many people he would get to. If it was going to be good,
And he's a good singer. I mean, I've seen him in concert, and he is a good vocalist. He has it.
Posty?
He did. Confirmed.
Curtis confirmed that.
Jelly Roll was
Jelly
insane.
Roll was on tour with ICP.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
The Shock Fest tour.
Shock Fest tour. Okay.
Thank you, Curtis. Appreciate
If
it.
anybody's looking that up.
That was that Cliffy thing we were talking about right there that I threw out.
Oh, yes.
That little Cliff random fact I had ready to throw out there.
Well, look at I knew he did some rapping stuff on the side, but I didn't know he was.
Yeah, well, there were some raps out there. I was listening to a podcast. I don't know if it's Theo Von's with Jelly Roll or if it was another one with Jelly Roll, but they did play some clips of I think when he had just come out of jail and he was doing some raps. So you'll have to look that up, Brett, because I know you're into Theo Von, and he was on Theo Von's podcast. If you haven't listened to it,
a few times because
I think he's been on twice.
One of them that I listened to,
one
he
was
was
Ernest. Whoever Ernest is.
Yeah, Ernest,
Another country
songwriter.
I know a guy
country
named
singer.
Ernest.
He so you know the Morgan Wallen song "Roses," I think, or no, not Roses, Flower Shop.
Flower Shop, yep.
You know the Flower Shop?
No, I don't.
So he sings it with Ernest.
Okay.
So I actually listened to that episode with Theo and Ernest and Jelly, and they were talking about how I can't remember if Ernest wrote a song or if he was gonna write a song, but it was something about how Ernest was off to college and Jelly was off to jail because they knew each other. They knew each other prior to.
Sure.
I'm sure Jelly Roll has been to jail a few times, but prior to one of his stints in lockup. So go back and listen to it. It's pretty
Well, the crazy thing is, though, is some people might go, oh, my gosh, these people are transitioning into different music. This isn't the first time it's been done, folks. I mean, you have Kid Rock. He started at rap. If you don't know Kid Rock's rap, go check it out sometime. It's quite dirty, and I have the album. And then he went into rock, and now he's I would say it's country, but now
Southern country type.
now he's back into rock a little bit. But then you also go, the biggest one in my mind where cross platforms happened was Tim McGraw and Nelly. That's a huge cross, I think. That when we were, I was in high school. I think I was a junior, and that came out over and over, right?
Yep.
That was a huge cross, and Nelly was able to.
Thought for sure you were going T Swift for a second there.
I haven't gotten there, and stop reading my mind, Josh.
Oh, sorry.
It must be the bourbon.
I don't think she changed.
It was the same thing the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's just what the media did with her.
Yeah.
I think that's all
I
that
agree.
was.
Yeah,
But
and,
anyway.
and she's built a legacy for herself. But in my mind, when I think of Taylor Swift, I don't think of country. I think of pop. Maybe her first album was more country, but
I don't think she's ever really changed her musical.
I don't think she has either.
I think it's just how they classify.
And
it.
what country has changed? I mean,
everyone every time I say, "Oh, I like that country," they go, "Oh, that's just contemporary country." I'm like, "What the hell's the difference?"
fine.
Am
I mean,
bad?
yeah, it's not the old, George Strait, Alan Jackson stuff.
So,
but things
but-
change because now they call Shabuzi the bar song.
Yeah,
They have-
Stephanie
they call
loves
it
that
they call
song.
it country.
She requests
but
that loop all the time.
In the 90s, that wouldn't have been a country song.
No. Well, and the thing is, though, I'm not big into those, but Alan Jackson I do like. Like, you put on Chattahoochee,
Little
I'm
Chattahoochee,
like,
yeah.
See,
Oh,
you
yeah,
would-
5 o'clock
if that was the
somewhere.
case,
Oh,
you would
yeah.
love Alan Jackson, AJ's Bar down in Lower Broad,
Oh, I'm sure I
Nashville.
would, yes.
Because that's all it is. It's just that straight.
now I'm
especially
not.
that band. Or that
See, now I'm not
gentleman I
big
saw.
into George Strait by any means, and everyone's like, he's like the, and Garth Brooks is like, those are like the staples. But I'm like an Alan Jackson guy. Like, to me, Alan Jackson, and here's how my country music goes. If it seems summery, I'm all in. 5 o'clock somewhere. That's like drinks by the poolside,
Garth
man.
Brooks, 2 pina coladas.
When I
Step
think
on
of
down to
Garth
the
Brooks, I'm
Oasis.
thinking of Great Balls of Fire. I'm thinking of the
Great
Dance.
Balls of Fire.
Isn't that him? Who was that? I don't know country music well. folks.
Standing outside in the fire.
What was it?
Well, that's-
goodness
yeah.
gracious, Great Ball. Wasn't
That's
him?
not Garth Brooks.
Who the hell is
no.
that?
We're gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, Curtis looked that one up for me because clearly I don't know country music. But if I did, here's what I'm listening to. I'm
I
listening.
did.
Yeah, when I do listen to country music, which is usually on the river with a beer.
Yeah, that's
Jerry Lee Lewis.
So I'm way off. Well, he could have been. I don't know what the hell he was.
Different eras.
Yeah.
What year, Curtis? Do you have the year?
He was
He's
on
earning-
his
This is so
way to get
great.
another beer.
He is our.
He's earning his
He's
keep
trying to
to
get
go.
his money.
Again, folks, I said I can only pay you in beer, and
So we're
Curtis said
doing our
that's
Mount
cool.
Rushmores. Is that what we're doing?
No,
Of
I'm just
country?
saying. Here's
Ooh,
what I
I'm
listen
down
to if
for
it comes to
that.
country, because a lot of
61.
Oh,
Jesus, some way off. Anyways, no, if I listen to country, you tell me if it's real country or contemporary country. If I put on country, here's what it is. It's Nico Moon, Thompson Square, probably some Blake Shelton, Alan Jackson, and if I had to pick a fifth one, oh man, I'm probably like Cole Swindell. Where
So
am I at?
you got 2 real
Real, and the rest
Yeah, I
of them
would say,
are what's
like,
considered country.
Yeah,
String-
your classical.
12-string
what they,
country,
yeah.
classical
I
country.
mean, Thompson Square, I enjoy them. Nico Moon, I like it. It's fun.
It's such good. Nico Moon is great river music, and the thing is, Thompson Square came to Treasure Island in January, February. I went, met them, got a little selfie with them because they're behind the table. But I met them, and that was great, and I enjoyed my time with the very short time I had with them. They signed my little record, and it's sitting down in my basement.
Did you go to the not episode? Did you go to the concert when they came to Winona State?
I did not know.
It was Thompson Square in the band.
It might have
was
been-
Bam Perry
Bam
that came
Perry,
with, right?
I
Yep.
bet that was probably when I was down in Atlanta, is my guess.
2012, I believe. Is
Yeah,
when
I was
they
in
came.
Atlanta at the time. Or
Yeah.
college. I was in one of the two, so I wouldn't have
Yep.
seen them at all. No, so I'm more into the contemporary country, which is cool. But then if you think about rap, I bet people nowadays be like, oh, that's not rap. Go listen to Tupac. Go listen to Biggie. And then, you have the same thing with every
Right.
genre of
Yep.
music. Yeah, and
Yep.
we grew up in the 90s. Late 90s is my favorite rap. Is late 90s. You had Tupac. I was obviously into Too Short, Devin the Dude, Big Timers, or the whole Cash Money thing, Master P. That was my era. But if you listen to stuff now, they go, oh, that's just mumble rap, or it's hip hop, and it's just garbage. And to each their own.
Yeah, and I'll say I haven't been as much of a rap person. I enjoy some of the older stuff. I like a lot of the Eminem stuff. I like
Oh yeah.
the 50 Cent. I enjoyed Big Timers.
Oh yes.
Yeah, but I mean some of the newer stuff, and maybe it's because I'm becoming that old guy. But it's like I can't understand what the hell they're saying.
No, I know. But you know what? If I had to throw one song in any of these cars, if I was driving down the street, it's Big Timers, Get Your Roll On.
Yep.
And second to that is number one Stunner.
Yeah.
But look, we got to get our next one in here.
Okay.
Where are we at now?
So we're going to transition away here because this is the Buffalo Trace. Now we're going to go away from that.
Okay.
So
All right, I'll put these down here.
So my next one is I'm going to go into Chris's favorites.
Oh, yes, you have the Shakespeare.
So these are ryes.
I'm a rye fan.
This one right here is the Pikesville Rye.
That's
I think
a
it
good
was
one.
2 years ago, won Best Rye. And this one right here is called Midwinter's Night's Dram. It's a play on Midwinter's Night's Dream. It's a Shakespeare play. This is one thing I was going to get into. So you'll hear about how you have bourbons and ryes and various things like that. But this is actually not a typical rye because of it says finished in port barrels. So you'll see that on bourbons too. So as soon as it says that, it's actually a liqueur.
Really?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
it's different. It's not the same base. But so it'll say a blend of straight rye whiskeys, then finished in port barrels. So now it is not a rye whiskey, it is a liqueur.
All right.
Same thing for a bourbon. So this is a very limited release that comes out of High West Distillery in Utah. You did have this one. I know you like this one.
I know. And the bottle's pretty cool, too. I mean, it's got like little speckles on it.
Yep.
Is that actually sparkles or speckles in there?
Yeah, there's little bubbles in the glass.
That's cool.
Yeah. So this is, I know you're going to have some.
Oh, I know.
So
You guys got to see this. If you're watching YouTube, check it out. Midwinter Nights, what was it?
Dram.
Dram.
Yeah, so a dram is a pour whiskey.
Okay.
And that's what it's a
pour
play on
whiskey?
words. Yeah.
It's-
A
but it's-
pour of whiskey.
Oh, I think
Not
like a poor person.
Like a poor person's whiskey.
I was like,
No.
No, I feel like this is higher
No, it's a
end than
pour.
that. Okay.
So, and it talks about all the stuff that they have there. But one of the things that they do is Act 10, Scene 5, it says here. In each year is another act. In each release is another scene.
Sweet.
So they're...
Year 10 release, the fifth release of year 10.
Correct.
That's cool.
Yeah. So these ones, when I got it, it was probably like $70. Now they're going for like $200-$300 a bottle.
Who makes this one? Does
It's
it even say?
Yep, High West Distillery. It's out of Utah.
Sweet.
So you can pour yours.
Oh, I am going to pour mine.
Chris likes his ryes.
Oh, I like
So-
my ryes. I do.
And this is a little bit more of a basic rye, but I mean it is good. The only thing that makes it a rye is that when they do the distilling, it is at least 51% rye as far as the lead grain.
So while we're pouring, what's everyone got for summer plans?
Oh gosh, good. You know.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, you and me, we're gonna be river rats. I mean, I know you've already had your boat in for about a month or more, and you've been staying down there multiple times.
Correct.
Sorry.
You
Correct.
asked me a question while I was trying to do a pour.
Yeah, and I mean, the river's a big thing this weekend coming up. Well, when this releases, it'll already happened. Got the car auction where I'm hoping to sell to and get a Viper.
So by the time this episode gets released, that'll be
It'll be the Monday. The auction will
Cars
be
will be
over. I'll
potentially
already
gone.
know if I've already sold my cars by the time this comes
Even
out.
if it goes to like second chance.
You gonna announce the reserves?
Yeah.
It'll be after.
Yeah. On the Camaro, the white and orange one that I don't know if anybody's seen in the background. That one's at $30,000 for the reserve, and the Shelby, which was actually probably a staple in the background here, that one had a reserve of $35,000 on it. So the Camaro was a 2010, only had 11,100 miles on it. It was the
You bought that at that auction.
I
didn't
bought
you?
that.
I remember you buying
2 years
that.
ago, literally 2 years ago at this June auction, And that one is the ZL 454 package. It doesn't have a 454 engine. It was just a package where it had the white with the orange. So if you look at the 69-ish Camaro, there was a white and orange edition. If you look at I think in the 70s they had one as well. The 90s they definitely had one. They redid it basically. All it was is just some orange interior, SLP, whatever that stands for. I'm sorry, I don't really know. Like I said, I could change my own oil, I could change my own tire, but I'm not big into the mechanics. There were some upgrades like exhaust and stuff like that, but it is really beautiful on the inside. That one has the 30,000 reserve. The 2009 Mustang GT500 is a convertible, which those are a little bit more limited. And they're limited because they only made so many convertibles. And that one was signed by Carroll Shelby on the dash, literally with an ink, with a Sharpie. Some of them didn't come with, it's just like Rich Jacobson signing these bad boys. Yeah. It's just
basically
like as if
thing.
These might be worth more.
Yeah.
We'll find
There's
out.
A reserve. There's a reserve on these.
Should I send these through?
Yeah. Not these. That's not yours anymore.
Hey, come on now. The Mustang actually has a reserve of 35 on it. It has, I think, 30,000 miles on it, which is kind of high for the year. But I'm hoping that brings 35. If I can get 30 and 35, the goal is to get the Viper that I want because it's roughly 59,000. But there's auction fees and there's taxes and all that. So that's my hopes coming up here next week. And then I'm also taking one of the queens through the parade for Steamboat Days. It was
which vehicle are you gonna?
Well, it was gonna be the Mustang, but the Mustang sold, and there's clearing of money that has to go through. If the Viper's not available, it'll be the James Bond T-Bird that you guys see to your right. Nobody's seen that one yet on the podcast, but I should do a video on that for people. That one will be the one that will go through the parade with. It was supposed to be Miss America. Miss America is actually going with someone else's, so I'll have Miss Southern Minnesota in mine. The whole goal would be really, in my mind, and I know that this girl has a schedule. If I had Miss America on the podcast, how sweet would that be?
That would be sweet, yeah.
That would
I remember
be awesome.
years ago with the Black Thunderbird, your dad had Miss America on
he
the
did.
T-Bird. That was probably the first. So you bought it, 2001?
He bought it in
It was like September 11th or September 12th, I feel like.
It was right around
the 9/11 unfortunate event.
Yes.
But anyway, so it would have probably been the 2002 Steamboat Days.
2002 or 2003, yes. Because he has a photo, and he still has a little banner that was on the side of it that said Miss America.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing. And at the time, I mean, you and me, we probably didn't think twice about it. Like,
I think we thought something. I thought, at least at
we
the time
thought she was
for me,
good looking,
I
probably.
I thought it was pretty cool. We got to meet her,
But I didn't realize how.
Go ahead.
Well, I didn't realize how prestigious the award was.
Sure.
Because you and me, we used to go to the Miss Winona
That's what I was
pageant.
just going to say.
And
We were
we'd be
going to
hooting and hollering in the background. So
when your
we're
dad
like,
was a judge or MCing and
Is
all
he-
that kind
well,
of
he
stuff.
was the auditor, and he emceed twice.
Yeah, he emceed twice.
So that was one of the things that was like, I didn't understand how actually high up Miss America
That's a
is.
pretty
Because they're going
prestigious
to Miss Universe next, which that's pretty cool. So when she was riding on that car, I didn't realize, this is actually a pretty prestigious thing that's happening. So we were possibly going to have her, but now it's going to be Miss South Minnesota, which that's fantastic too. Even if she wanted to come on the podcast and be like, let's do it. Just to have a pageant person. I've never had a pageant person.
Well, that golf tournament that we were supposed to golf in was, after I did a little research, it was hosted by, I don't remember, but it was one of those kind of affiliates where it was like,
Which one are you talking about?
that one we were going to do, that first one, remember, was back in April.
Oh,
It
at
was
Westfield?
at Westfield.
Oh,
Before it would have been after our podcast. We filmed their episode, or our, your and I's second episode, like a week before that we never got to do it. But
Well, and that would be fantastic. I know she has a schedule though, but I don't know her schedule. But the other person I want to get on the podcast is another guy. His name is Fred Benning. As you guys might have heard of his name, but he's kind of in charge of a lot of Steamboat Days things. and specifically the car show, because my dad and I are actually going to be judging some of the cars in the car show. And then
sure.
we're having our party here, which is kind of an open walk on in. We'll have some pizzas, we'll have some beers, but that's about it. And coming in, talk, stay for 5 minutes, stay for 5 hours, whatever it is. We did it last year because Jim, who was on last week's episode, he used to do the same thing because he had a pre-car show party at his residence. And if you had tickets and all that, you went there. And then they had the car show, which is what it is now, really like 250 cars come. And then he had an after party here. And I said to my dad, I said, well, why don't we just open it up and just say, we're going to have pizzas and beer and just come on in as you please. And last year, I think we had 40 or 50 people. And one guy came in. I think he was really drunk when he came in, but he started talking to one of the mannequins. And I think he thought she was real.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
So you got boating?
I got boating,
You
parades,
got car show?
car show,
You got
yeah.
parades? Anything else? Anything you do with the family? Wife? Any
yeah, I got-
vacations? Any trips? Anything
Yeah,
like that?
got a trip to Michigan with our friends. If you remember Enyo from one of the episodes, the only episode that has been off the Speakeasy Studios. We were on the Icon of the Seas, going to meet up with them at the end of July for Stephanie's birthday weekend. So we're going to take a long weekend. We're going to fly there. It takes like an hour. And I said, well, I have miles built up. We can fly there and back for $22, or we can spend 16 hours driving there and back. I said, so basically we can get a whole extra day. And I just booked the flights and said, this is what we're doing.
Very
We'll
nice.
figure out the rest from there. So we're going there, boating with you, Brett. Hopefully, Josh, you'll make it out this year.
Josh,
We
Come down
we
to the
should be
marina.
able
No,
to. I already
he's-
told you that how my
Yes.
kids, they want to get out there.
He's got 4 kids, and they will come out on the river. We'll go to, I know you don't really care much for the rear end of Mosquito Island, but for kids, it's fantastic
I
because
don't mind it. It's the only place you go. If
I don't
anybody,
only
if,
go
if you ever
there.
see Chris on the river, the only place he'll be
No, that's
is we call it
incorrect,
It's
Brett.
not Shady Island.
No, I just call it Mosquito's Rear.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Mosquito's Rear.
But last year I took you, your wife, Kendra. We all went to
did.
Mosquito.
We went
and
to
then
the
we
southern
had
tip of
Stu out
Mosquito.
there. And you guys ripped around on that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I'll go to pretty much that area, but if kids are with, I'll definitely go to Mosquito's Rear because it comes up to an adult's knee, which means if the kids have a life jacket on, worst thing that happens is they fall over and they start floating. And they're with,
Right.
and
Well, there
Yeah.
could be worse things that happen, but I get what you're saying.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
like you and me, we've literally
I'm
floated
just saying,
ourselves down with
no
life
water
jackets on.
is truly child-proof.
Right.
But yes.
And we have all of the.
Yeah. Your
Life
kids will be
vests that
so
they have.
wiped out after a day on the river, they'll sleep for like 12 hours. And you're like, oh,
I'm gonna hold
I
you
got
to
my
that.
best time. Okay, if you're going to hold me to the 10 hours, then
He's just
Okay.
saying what he normally
Yeah.
sleeps after being
Yeah.
on the river.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I sleep
Yeah.
for like 12 hours.
Oh man,
afterwards.
but the sun and all the activity just wears kids out. They'll be sleeping probably on the boat back to the marina,
Yeah.
and then you're like, "No, wake up!
Wake
Don't
up
go to
right
bed
now.
yet.
I need you to go
damn it.
sleep later.
Go to
Exactly.
bed when it's time, and you might get your best sleep that way. But you need to come out, and Brett is always out there,
I am
and our
out there.
friend Matt is always there too. But yeah, that's what I got planned. What do you got going, Brett?
What do I have going? I don't have a whole lot of stuff going on. We're going to do the craft beer tour. We have some friends coming down the 22nd of June, so we're going to
Yep.
go to the craft beer tour.
You're not going horseback riding?
No, we were going to go horseback riding at the CK Ranch. So Corey had,
I was going to say,
Corey
he's fishing
Jabber
tonight.
I think it was back in April, March or April.
Jabber
And
boy.
he said, mark your calendars. We're going to do like horseback riding, and I'm going to smoke a brisket, and we're going to do the
Yeah.
whole thing. And if I don't know if you've listened to any of the other episodes, at least the last one I talked about, like Alice and I plan things in advance.
Oh, yeah.
Because
No, I get it.
And we don't even have kids in our stuff books up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, all right, put it on the calendar. Well, I had people reaching out. We had a graduation party. We had the
Yep.
craft beer tour that
Yeah.
our friends have came down for before. And there was another, I can't remember, there was a third thing. Oh, an A-Bait rally up in Wisconsin that we were going to do with some friends. And if anybody doesn't know
What
what
was
A-Bait,
it?
A-Bait, it's like a motorcycle freedom, kind of a
Okay.
freedom
Oh,
rally.
okay.
And we've done that in the past.
Should I be there for that
We invited you the last time we went up
with
there.
the Speakeasy crew?
Yeah, we invited. Actually, the A-Bait, not to go off on the A-Bait rallies, but they're a lot of fun. You get together, you go on rides, you
Sure.
have some. It's like basically steamboat days. They have bands that come in, but anyway. So I had all those events, and then I kept asking Corey, "Are we going horseback riding? Are we going horseback riding?" And finally, I don't know, maybe like a week and a half ago, no, we're doing trail riding out of town. We'll have to plan it for a different weekend. And then the weekend that he wanted to do it, we were, I can't remember what we had
Corey
planned.
appreciating his shout out here.
Oh, I think every episode,
He probably doesn't
every
even
episode that I've been on, there's been a shout out to Corey and probably even other ones.
Actually, you know what? Give Corey a code word, and if he's heard it, he'll say it to us.
No, there's no way.
No chance he's here to.
Horseback riding
There's
is the key
no
word.
way he listens to any of these because
Jabber
remember he said
jabber?
he's got to wait for a drive to Nebraska to listen to the Jabber Jabber.
Hey, go
That's
with
what
Jabber
he,
Jabber.
That's what he told
The
Chris.
Jabber Jabber podcast.
We have something going on the 29th. I can't remember what it was that we. Allison's grandmother's 90th birthday.
Oh,
So we're gonna be
yeah.
up in St. Cloud for that. Other than that, not a whole lot. We do obviously a lot of boating and hiking, and we have some festivals, some town festivals that I have for work and things like that. But
Sure.
other than that, not really a whole heck of a lot planned. We'll do. I'm guessing Alice and I will plan another motorcycle trip. Last year we went down to McGregor, Iowa for the weekend. We did that in August. That was a lot of fun. I'd like to do that again.
Yeah, that's one thing I got coming up. I'm probably Justin and I. We went to Milwaukee last year, and we visited the Hurley Museum. We were thinking about doing Duluth this year, but I think the idea I'm going to do is go down and stay with him, and then from there we'll just go to different breweries around where he lives because he's down in the Dubuque area, I believe.
Yep.
And so then what I'll do is I'll just go down there and stay with him, and then probably just do a long weekend again and take the cycles down, get some patches, and have some fun.
What about you, Josh? What do you have going on?
I
this
know
summer?
Josh and I, we have a plan already in about 2
Oh,
weeks.
we have, yeah. So we're going to be going to a Twins game here
Fun.
in 2 weeks. Yeah, and Florida concert at the end of it.
on the field.
Yep, on
Sounds
the
pretty
field.
cool.
So that'll be fun.
And we'll be in what section? The Champions?
The Champions Club.
Just
Oh my
don't bring
gosh.
a baseball bat in.
We would
Exactly. You can't.
Especially
You're not allowed to do
with the
that.
You're not allowed
yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Corey,
Doesn't
Corey
work.
learned.
Yeah.
Jabber
So then he, had to,
jabber.
Yeah.
then he had to buy the baseball drink instead, or the
Yeah.
baseball bat drink instead.
You know what? That's the code word, baseball bat. Corey, if you're listening, baseball bat.
Dodgers.
Don't bring in
Dodgers.
a Dodgers one and then try to get a refund
Yep.
later.
No. My
Baseball,
sister-in-law is.
Colorado, bachelor party.
Yeah, my sister-in-law is getting married out in Montana. So
That's-
actually, in
When's that
Laker.
one?
That's gonna be
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
What's that?
When's that?
End of July.
Oh, so we'll be on vacation at the same time. You'll just be going the opposite
Yep.
way.
Perfect.
basically.
Yeah.
It'll be perfect out
We're
there.
Yeah.
flying out there.
We find
Well-
Bozeman.
Kalispell.
Oh,
Because my
spending the big bucks.
my in-laws live in Whitefish.
That's where we stayed for when we went out and ran the half marathon out there was in Whitefish.
Yeah.
It was just west, probably like 5 minutes.
It is gorgeous in that
Whitefish
area.
is phenomenal.
Yeah,
They don't have
no.
cabs late at night, I'll tell you that.
Neither does
I
Winona.
almost went down to the police station
Yeah.
and said, hey, just 5 minutes outside. Just scoot me out there, but there was a cab. that
Winona
swung
doesn't
by.
have the same thing.
No.
Weber and Curtis can also attest to that.
Yeah, Winona doesn't have a cab company either.
No,
I don't know, somebody
and
should-
Lyft sucks too.
Somebody should
because
start a cab company. Winona, they make, well, I don't know how much they make. But anyway, so Whitefish.
But yeah, no, we're my in-laws live out there in Whitefish, so we'll be out there. And it, other than that, not a ton. My parents have a campground location down in West Salem at Neshonoc. It
Yeah, I
kind
know
of
you're down there a lot.
overlooks the lake. Yeah,
You like that? Do you like going down? Like, do you stay overnight when you go, or you just go there for the
we
day?
stay down there. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Kids like it?
yeah, they do well. And you know, at that point, you just run them ragged, and
They
just
probably sleep
crash.
well, right?
Yeah.
So same thing happens on the river, just so you know.
Yep. That's
Same
the
thing.
plan.
They just go crazy, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I'm tired." On the way back to the marina, no, just slap them on the face a couple times. Say, "Wake up!
Yeah.
Don't sleep until we get home."
It's like those melatonin pills
Yes, the melatonin pills.
or the gummies. Yeah.
Those are legal, right?
Oh,
No,
those,
don't.
yeah,
It's
those
naturally
those-
produced in the brain.
Yeah, yeah.
That's correct. Should we do our last one?
Okay, yep. So here, the reason why I kept this one for last, you can put those ones down.
Because you love me.
So this is actually my favorite stuff. It's Elijah Craig. This is a single barrel select. You can put that one down too. If you're from around here, you know Quick Trip.
We know
So-
Quick Strip or Quick Star. Yes.
Quick Spirits is their liquor store. This is the first barrel pick that Quick Spirits ever did.
Oh, wow.
Sells liquor.
They have a liquor store in La Crosse.
Brett, we went there and
It
picked
is
up
just
your.
a liquor store. There is no.
No, that's the tobacco outlet's different, Chris.
Oh, that's
Right,
different?
yeah.
Where's the liquor
This
store?
one, it's down south of Gunderson. So
Oh,
if you
okay.
go to Gunderson, if
Sure.
you keep going south, there's a little tiny
On the right
it-
side, right hand side
Yep,
of the road.
yep.
Okay.
It is
used to be a
just-
gas station.
Yep, it is just a liquor store.
Okay,
Quick
cool,
Spirits.
cool.
So this is the first one they did.
All right.
It is Elijah Craig. Elijah Craig is probably my favorite one. They have
Even over Pappy?
Pappy is very, very good. The thing is I like the profiles out of these.
Okay.
So whether it be the small batch, they have a toasted barrel, they have a barrel proof. Everything I've had from Elijah Craig is good.
Okay.
Weller is great. It's a little, I will say the weeded bourbons are a little bit more tame, but the flavor profiles out of the Elijah Craigs are just amazing. I enjoy every single one.
So does Quick Start make this?
No.
Or
so
no.
so when
Okay.
you do a barrel pick, what it ends up being is that you get chosen to do it.
Okay.
So I assume Quick Trip, they didn't get chosen. They paid something to be able
Sure,
to just do
obviously.
it. So you go down there and they'll lay out, 3, 4, 5, 6 barrels, and they let you try them all. Whoever
Okay.
it happened to be that did this. And then you choose which barrel you're going to get. I mean, and pretty much every place does this, or any big place. So I know you had Ben Holiday, the barrel pick from Hy-Vee.
Yep.
That's who Andrew Elmquist brought on.
Yep.
New Riff does them. This is a Heaven Hill brand.
Okay.
So they do it. Buffalo Trace does it. Most places do a single barrel pick
Okay.
option. And what it means is that everything out of that barrel you get. Now you get to choose, am I going to do it at a barrel proof level, which is, it comes out of the barrel, that's the proof it's going to be. Or am I going to choose that it's going to be a lower proof? So like Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace, when it comes out of the barrel, is not at 40% alcohol. It's at a much higher proof. They water it down.
Nope.
So this one right here is at 62.85%. It is a barrel proof, uncut version of Elijah Craig out of a single barrel, which, depending on the age, will determine how many bottles there are.
Yeah.
So if it's a 10-year, you may get 180. If it's a 5-year, you may get 200. And that really drives the price.
Okay.
I think this one cost me $58. So it's nothing crazy, but
Sure.
This is definitely one of the favorite Elijah Craigs I've had.
Okay.
Well, you guys are-
know, it's true too because I've had.
I'm just going to use the restroom while you guys are pouring.
Yeah, not a problem. As I've had bourbons, one of my favorites, not even expensive, was Wild Turkey Long Branch.
Oh,
And that's not expensive. That's like $40.
Wild Turkey. So if you were to ask our parents, Wild Turkey is awful. It is absolutely the
Don't get me
dirt
wrong. You're right.
of what whiskey is.
Yes. Wild Turkey's like, hey, I want to get messed up. I might as well
Right.
just have Everclear.
Yeah. Right. So,
Yes.
but Wild Turkey has changed.
Don't. Yes.
Because
you're right.
if I had to get a shelf bourbon,
Yeah.
and that's
And shelf bourbon, you just mean like I'm walking into a store. This
is available on every single shelf I'm going to find.
Cool. Yep.
So I'm going to choose Wild Turkey 101. And another one is Old Tub.
Old Tub.
Old Tub. It's a Jim Beam brand.
Okay.
It's a bottled and bond, so that means it's 50%. You learned that on Ellen Elmquist's
I
one.
did. Yeah.
It's a great bourbon, and it's $20 for a bottle.
Ooh, that one burned. I don't have any hair in my chest.
Evan Williams Bottle and Bond is like a $18 bottle.
Yeah.
It's a great bottle of bourbon.
Okay.
And everyone is so obsessed with, And it's with everything. It's everything in life. The more it costs, the better it must be. And that's not the case.
You would
When it
think
comes
so,
to
right?
bourbon, for me, so I have a little decanter at home. And when I fill it, it's usually Wild Turkey 101.
You brought
It
it
is-
over to my house one day
Yep.
for the
It's an
Timberwolves game.
it's an easy drinker. It's an easy drinker for me. It's hard for other people to say because it's obviously 50.5% alcohol.
Right, yeah.
So some people will say it's a little harsh.
Yeah, wow.
But for me, it's a great bourbon. It works in any situation. It's so flavorful. And if you can't do that, small batch Elijah Craig, it's a $32 bottle. Perfect.
Yeah. Ooh,
I think
baby's taking the skin off.
I think for the first Masters party that I hosted, the
So this was
inaugural.
last year,
This was the
not this year, but the
yep the
yep.
previous year. You had brought me the Woodford Reserve.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a simple bottle. You can get it anywhere. It goes down pretty decent, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Woodford is excellent, especially their standard.
Yeah, there was one I wanted to get on the podcast, and I didn't get around to getting it. It was the Woodford Kentucky Derby. I don't think it was anything more than just a
It's
cute
their
little
standard.
label.
Yeah, it's just a different
Yeah, it
label.
was just a label. But I was like, well, that'd been cool. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
And you tried the double oak.
The double stroke, yep.
What was the one that you got? What was the one that you got me? Was it? I think it was the Double Oak.
Probably. I don't
It was
know.
whatever the one Matthew McConaughey is. Sorry,
That's the Long Branch.
Long Branch.
That's what he was talking
Oh,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
Long
Sorry.
Branch.
That is a very good one. They do a great
The
job
Long
with
Branch
that.
It's like
Yeah.
$38. It's
Yeah,
not.
the Long Branch was excellent.
Well, Matt and I polished one off on Christmas Eve, and then we were ripping our RC cars around in the snow. And Larry, my father-in-law, who is going to come on here sometime, he was singing tunes, and we started doing karaoke in the basement with his guitar, live acoustics.
It's got like a caramel smell to it.
I don't know, but man, it'll take the hair off your nutsack, dude.
It's a strong one.
It's a show. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy. Brett's like, I better get a drink of water on this.
Feel it.
Yeah, you can feel it. So yeah, I do want to go back to podcasting things, because this is the 6-month anniversary, and I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, good way to circle things back.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on because, well, Brett, you've been a regular, and Josh, you've only been on once
Recurring.
actually. You're only on episode 2, but you've had the most downloads.
I think we're the only two people that have been on it more than once.
I will admit, that
except for
when
Justin, who did a part 2.
when I showed up to
Yes.
that, I'm pretty sure you told me that it was going to be a trial run thing. I didn't realize it was going to be an actual episode. I thought you
Well,
would,
you told me
and
to
it
buy
turned
the
out just
blend.
fine.
You told me to buy the
it
blend.
turned out excellent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it turned out fine. But I remember you telling me, "Hey, I want to try this. Hey, can you come down and we'll test it out and see how it goes?" And then you were all set up. I was like, "Oh, this is really happening right now. Like,
Well, you
we're
told
doing
me
it."
what to buy. You're like, yeah, there's a guy. He'll sell you this Blanton's for like $100. You should do it because it goes for almost double the price than most
Oh, yeah.
places. I go, sounds good. And I went and met the guy at this liquor store, and he sold it to me. It was a little leery. I said, I'm just doing a podcast with this thing.
Was this in the back alley somewhere, Chris?
No,
met
no,
this
it was in
guy.
the back alley.
The back row.
Normal. But
Everything circles back to that bootlegging.
Exactly. Yeah.
no, he owns the liquor store, but it was just like
I know.
I said, I'll buy this. That's no problem. I don't give it. Don't
got
matter to me.
cash? We don't take cards.
So my question
Yeah.
is,
Right.
from
Not claiming
YouTube
this on my
both
taxes.
specifically going back to YouTube,
YouTube or us two?
No, you two
Okay.
people,
okay.
Josh, Brett.
Okay, I want to get
What?
that clarified.
Have you heard any feedback about your episodes that you've had being on here? Has anybody come up to you, hey Brett or hey Josh, I've listened to it. That was awesome. I learned.
So,
Blank.
Former employee. So, my position, I don't have employees. It's an entity that I work for. So, an employee that worked for the entity that I work for, his father listened to it. I think he ran into you at Calvin Nagel. I think his dad,
Sure.
Peanut, they call him Peanut.
Yes, Peanut.
Peanut
yes.
ran into you at like Island City or somewhere and
Yep.
said, hey, listen to your guys' podcast.
Yes, he did.
That's
Sure.
probably been the only, aside from like Allison listening to it, that's probably been the only feedback that I've received from my episode or my episodes specifically.
Sure. Yeah.
So
And we kind of did,
Yeah.
that Masters one. It was kind of a last minute thing. You're like, hey, we should do a Masters recap, even though it wasn't the Masters recap. It was literally the Saturday of the Masters, but we were just like, let's just run.
which,
an
by the
episode.
way, who did I say was going to win the Masters? I'll make this very brief
You-
because there is one mistake I made in the Masters, which was the yardage of the
No,
of
you
the
said
course.
Scotty Scheffler's gonna win.
Correct. We'll get back to that. I do want to make a correction because when I make a mistake, I'm wrong. On the episode, I said they extended it. It was like 8,300 yards or something for the. I think that's what they wanted to do. I think
Oh,
the final
yeah.
one was like 7,500.
We
or
talked about the
7,300.
yardage, yes.
I was off by like between 500 and 800 yards.
But you still
Anyway,
have.
I wanted to make that correction because when I listened to
Okay.
it and I looked it up.
Yeah,
But anyway,
fact checkers.
who did I say was who would I predict to win
I
it?
think you said Scotty Scheffler, if I
I did
remember
say
right,
Scotty
and
Scheffler.
he won it.
And he won it.
Even though he's getting arrested.
No.
Yeah.
Charges were officially dropped today.
They actually were. I saw that. Yeah.
Okay.
They were dropped.
Today.
Yeah, they were dropped
Today.
today. Yeah.
Oh,
Live.
Oh, my God.
I will
29th
say,
of
if
May.
we're gonna correct our things from the previous podcast, one of the bourbon, the Old Elk, I said that was heavy corn. It's actually barley.
Oh,
I made that mistake. Correction. Yep, it's
But we
barley.
own
That's
up-
why it tastes like Scotch.
well,
It's
we
because
own up
it's
to our
barley heavy.
mistakes, don't
That's
we?
right.
So
I don't like to make them.
There's
but I
not
do it.
thousands of people, but when I said that yardage and it was way off, and then when I actually got home and I looked up like golf course yardages, it was like there's no course in the history of golf courses that are longer than 8,000 yards. I went,
Oh,
well,
I
if
have to
Matt
make-
Fitzgerald listens to this episode, he's going to be like commenting.
he didn't say anything.
I
He
have, to make
listened to
sure,
our
I have to make
episode.
sure I'm accurate because when people listen to it 130 times, I need to make sure everything I say is
140.
correct.
And then
Yeah.
immediately I fact check things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
So anyway,
So, Josh,
so
have you,
other than that, yeah, no, not for me.
have you heard any feedback?
Yeah,
on
I
yours?
probably had 20 to 25 people tell me that they listened to it, and
Were they like
everybody said they loved it. They
employees or
it was employees, friends, just random. It sounds bad. Random Facebook friends, like people I've known in the past and that
They're-
have
yes,
watched
right.
it. Acquaintances, I guess you'd call them. Everybody loved it. They said that they enjoyed the way that you set everything up,
okay?
the way that you outlined everything, and you really led the conversation along.
Well, I think that's going to be even better now because now we're literally about
'Cause we gave
20
you
episodes.
advice.
What's that?
Because we gave you advice on how to lead forward. Yeah.
You know,
Moving forward, this point
Josh,
on, it's going to go.
you son of a bitch.
Which is kind of fitting because you were episode 2.
Right.
Things took off.
Yeah.
Now we're coming back. Now
Yeah.
you got
That's
both
really
of
what
us.
he's trying to do is just milk the fact that I was the leading episode and trying to get another one of those.
I'm trying to get. Well, you know what? Any way I can make viewership happen,
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. But yes, no, you. I got to go back and watch these to see what it looked like back in the time, because back when we first started, I'm like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Literally, I shot 4 episodes before putting out the first one. Brett, you were one of them. Stephanie was one of them. Bundled up in the blanket.
Was I episode 4?
I think you were episode 4.
Yeah, because Paul was
Paul was in
three,
there
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
and I had
Steph,
those 4
Josh.
shot all before Christmas. Before the first of the year, because episode 1 came out, and I said I need to have a
Yep.
padding in case I can't get people. Well, nowadays, what's happening, which I'm very thankful for, people are actually reaching out to me to say, "Hey, can I come on and do it? I would love to tell my story." I'm like, "Please, let's do it. Just tell me a time, and I could most likely make whatever your time schedule is. I can probably make that work." Now that I'm not in school
And
right
you
now.
certainly might be getting to a point right now where it might, I don't want to say get more challenging, but because you never know if you're out socializing, who you're going to meet. And like
Yeah.
you start talking to somebody in a conversation, you're like, I really want to sit down with you on a couch. I'll get you whatever, if you want booze, you want lemonade, you want whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
I
let's
would
sit
tell
down and have a
people-
conversation. Are you willing to do that and record it and put it out there for the world to see? So those things might start rolling in, but you
Yeah.
might be getting to a point too also where you're like, I don't have the 4 episodes on standby. I'm kind of
Right.
doing this week to week,
Yeah.
which is fine too. It's all about adapting and
Well,
going
what?
out and talking
That's
to
one thing
folks.
you say that right now we're on week to week at the moment, but I can always record an episode alone if necessary.
Correct. Absolutely.
So I always have that in my back pocket. But I am reaching out. I'm trying to get not bigger people, just people that have maybe more influence within our society, and then keep reaching out as possible. I mean, one was funny. This guy that I've known for a few years, he goes, "Oh, would you like a former Viking on?" I'm like, yeah. Why would I not want a former Viking on? And I haven't heard from the guy yet. But I'm like, if someone like that came on, that'd be fantastic. And I know someone from a previous episode has some ins with the twins. I'm like, that would be fantastic too. If I could get a former or a current twin on, Minnesota Twins, that is, well, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
I have so many questions just off the top of my head, talking to you guys. If a former athlete came on, I want to know like the behind the scenes stuff. We all know what happens outside the scenes, but what happens, like, how do you make it? What were the steps to getting to those places? Those are like the questions I always want to hear.
You want to think outside the box a little bit, and this is one of the things that I found really fascinating with Theo Von's podcast.
Yep.
Is he will find the most random people to bring on. I've listened to an episode with him that he spoke to a carny for an hour and 50 minutes.
I saw that. I gotta listen to that
New York City sanitation worker. And I haven't listened to the one because apparently it was earlier on in his career, because I didn't realize, it doesn't come as a shock to me, but before I started listening this past year to this past weekend, he had been doing it for like 7 years.
Right.
And he
I
started
didn't know
like in a closet, right? So anyway,
in his car, he said at one
there was
point.
one episode that he did. He had to get an episode out, so he filmed it in a rental car. I think it was a rental car outside of like a Walmart or something.
I need Theo on this.
So where I'm going with, there was another episode with like a homeless man. I think besides the people that I was like curious to listen to, the carny by far was super fascinating.
Yeah.
That episode was phenomenal.
Steamboat days.
Even the sanitation
I
worker,
get a lot to this
the
people.
sanitation worker, super, because in New York City, it's a whole different like
Right.
animal.
Yeah,
sure
There's
it's different
sanitation
life,
worker.
yeah.
So anyway, I guess my point of that is like, don't be afraid to think outside the box of, I could get a Twins player on, or I could get this professional athlete.
Look at different
on.
walks of life, yeah.
Well, I have other people
Pull somebody
I
that's
know
worked at Watkins
sure.
for 35 years and say, hey, tell me your story. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now you have history of somebody that's worked at Watkins manufacturing here for however long, or go down to Steamboat days. I mean, I'm not trying to say like recreate what Theo has done with getting a carny on the show.
Well,
but
people just want to hear stories.
Like,
Yeah, no, he's right.
and
I mean,
tune into those. Like, I'm like, a carny. I thought at first, when I first listened to it, I thought it was a carny. So I'm like, I know people that have the last name Carney. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
That's what I thought too.
And then I started doing it, and he's like, hey, and it's Theo. So I'm like, rock on, dude. And then he said his name, and then he's a carny. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Please tell me more. So do you know what I mean? Like, so don't just necessarily focus on those ones that are
Yep.
that, I would like to hear a ex-Viking player, or get Adam Thielen on, or Justin Jefferson, or
Well,
Tommy
no,
Kramer,
it was
whoever,
nothing
and
like that.
honestly,
or Tommy Kramer, whoever it might be, like
You might have
retired
one of
people.
those names, right?
But look at some of those. It's interest, like who's interesting, and
Yep.
and I know we keep talking about all the things that you can do better and all the things that the steps forward you can take. But even from the episode that I did, the second episode,
where things really took off.
well, right, yeah, exactly.
And he had no idea what was happening.
that really jolt forward you got. But no, I will say, even from then, from what I've watched, the questions you've had, the format you've had has been amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. Mm-hmm.
You have done so much with what you've had. To be where you are has been amazing. Like, I realize that you haven't had the biggest people, but the format that you've had and the questions you've had ready, you have done an amazing job with what you have. And
100%.
Going forward, I have no question that if you run into any issues, the issue will not be you, because you have been able to guide the conversation and format it in a way that it has been interesting, regardless of who you've had.
Sure.
Because, I mean, and I'm not dissing your dad here, but most people don't find taxes and that kind of stuff interesting. But it was still great.
Here we are.
Yeah, right, exactly. It was still great. And
Yeah.
He's coming for part 2, I hear.
Ooh,
The episode.
yeah.
You know, when
He
he
wants
got
to
done, he
come-
goes,
The extension.
he said, I could have kept going. I'm like,
Oh, you're-
we'll just do another
Yeah,
episode
you
sometime.
guys
That's
could
fine.
you guys could have
No.
talked for 4 hours,
But-
5 hours, easy.
I will say that no matter who you have sit over here, with the format and how you do things, you'll be fine. It's just getting those people.
You know, the best compliment I've heard so far, and this is probably where we'll leave it because we're 2+.
Oh, yeah,
we're 2+
easily.
hours already.
Yeah, the
Our
third
sound
person.
guy told us so.
Oh yeah, he was motioning me over there
yes.
earlier.
Executive producer.
I snuck in and
yeah.
I flipped him off probably. Yeah.
You flipped him off.
So anyway,
Though the one thing I have heard though most every time someone has gotten done with the interview, they go, "I could have kept doing that. I could have kept
Yep.
talking. I should come back for a part 2." I'm like, absolutely. I have no problem having a part 2 with anybody. So from what I'm taking from that is you're doing, and this is giving me my kudos, is I've been doing
Your
a good enough
flowers.
job. My flowers, yes. I've been doing a good enough job to make people feel comfortable on your guys' side that they will talk and they don't feel. At first, I mean, even Brett, I think you said the same thing on an episode. The first episode you did, you go, at first I saw the ring light. I had the camera. I felt a little.
It was a lot at first.
It was a
Yeah.
lot at first.
Oh, no,
it was
I
a
agree.
lot more than just,
But as we got
hey,
going,
it's Chris and I just sitting here having a conversation, or now it's
It felt weird
Yeah.
because you felt like you were responding to that at the very beginning.
Correct.
But then he leveled it off and made it a
I think
conversation.
even for the first part of my entire, or for my first episode, through a lot of it, there was a lot of, okay, what am
you
I
were addressing the phone.
Yeah, I was kind of addressing the phone versus
Yep,
part of it is
yep,
I
yep.
The
listen to
camera.
podcasts, I watch clips of podcasts where you just have a conversation, right? Because that's the why.
Right. Sure.
Why are we here? We're here to have a conversation.
Yep, yep.
I mean, sure, some people might watch it and go,
Yeah.
hey, what are you wearing? That's me. That's what I do. But most people are probably
Khakis.
just wanting to listen. Yeah, most people are wanting to listen. You know, it was so funny because when Lazel was on the episode, I think there was I was standing my deck at home and I'm listening to this. I listened to his episode while I was standing my deck, and I listened to Theo and Nikki Glazer,
Oh, that was a
which
good
were
one.
very different podcasts, by the way. But Lazel's like, oh, yeah, Hurley, you're watching right now.
Hey, he showed his neon cap,
Boys.
which is still right over there. He never took his neon cap home.
Your-
Oh, Brett,
your
don't
cap
break
fell
my
off.
equipment.
When I was yelling out poison.
Wait a
It's for
minute.
you, Lazel.
Before we end this, do I get a signed card?
Yes,
I didn't get one with episode 2. I don't think they existed
They did
yet.
not.
I
exist.
actually got mine at the Westlife concert.
Yes, I
I
do.
tried
I
to
don't
invite-
know if mine's signed, actually.
So, for those who are wondering, I actually
Curtis
have
has one.
Hey,
He's
they're
flipping
all-
me off right
Hey.
now, telling me he has one.
Trade secret.
Sound guy flipping you
Hold on
off.
a second. Hold on. Trade secret, though, they're all 1 of 50.
There-
up.
yep.
Shut up, Brett. You sit down and
Somebody
shut up.
wouldn't pay for the alteration. Yeah, just to be able to make it sequential.
They're all PSA 10s, so.
They're
Speaking
all-
of
they're all
PSAs, my
PSA 10.
PSAs
You tried to
came
hand
in.
me one in a hotel room with no plastic case on it. I said, just
Rookie
give it to me
move.
when I get home and put the cover on it. And he goes, okay.
He's very bougie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you're gonna
look at
give
him,
me a card-
penny sleeve and a top.
I'm gonna have a-
Yeah.
You probably wanted me to PSA
no,
the damn thing
Chris,
too.
I will have a collection. It'll be this.
My
It'll
dad's
be your
signature is
card.
way better than mine.
This is probably the
way
best
better.
He's
signature
been
I've seen your dad.
practicing.
He's like,
No, he
this
was
is my moment.
Before the
Oh, he was probably practicing at home.
before the podcast, he came in and he was hooting and hollering about something. And I said, "Are you going to sign my vest? I requested it, or visor." I said, "I requested a signed visor." Well, I don't know about that. I said, "Chris, where's the marker?" Rich was already in the office. He said, "I don't remember."
Oh, he's ready to go.
And he
Yeah.
had 2 of them. He had a black one and a silver one. He said, "Which one looks better?" He said, "I think silver." I said, "Go ahead."
And they show up fantastic on this.
Oh, yeah.
So
It
speaking
does
of
look
which,
great.
that
They did a very
silver
good job.
one, I will autograph that trading card for you. The Brews and Cruise.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I need one.
apologize. You want to PSA that? Send it down.
I
to
should.
Breaks. Yeah.
I should.
You should.
See
So-
what they do.
Chris, in closing,
In closing,
this 6 month, I almost said 600 episode of
no, just 6
Yeah.
months.
Let's go
away.
for that one.
We're a
So
little
We'll
ways.
be on that one too.
So
Yes, sir.
I might
Our
be
livers will
I'll
be
be a lot
better.
more grayer and probably have a lot more runs in me. But,
But you'll have the
We
same
both
amount
have the
of
same
hair.
hairline. Yeah.
maybe you might catch up to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm working on it.
I won't.
So
Over here.
6 months in.
You hope.
Yeah.
Final thoughts for us, like what's been exciting, and I don't want like in depth, just
Yep.
snippets, exciting, nervous, scared, whatever. But
So-
start with the bad, end with the good.
Yep.
For both us and for your viewers.
Things that make me nervous is making sure I have enough guests to have a weekly thing come out every week, because for those who know me, I teach and sell real estate. So this is almost like a third gig. There's no money involved in this. I mean, literally, we're just sitting here. Josh, you brought the booze. You're actually spent more money than all of us together here.
But you've invested a lot into this.
Yeah.
This
Oh, no.
whole setup
Yes,
too. So
yes.
it's actually it costs you money to do this.
Actually, going back to what you just said, Brett, you on podcast 2, you said, "Hey, let's make sure the shot's right. Let's make sure nothing's in the background." So every time I set this up, I make sure the background looks fantastic. Now I know we have a neon half out, and people who watch this religiously will notice there's a neon that's half out. The Studebaker, it just says Baker. But from that,
shout out Bill Baker.
correct.
Next episode.
From that, you'll notice like that's out. However, neon's not the easiest to replace.
Sure.
But we're gonna make sure that like the background's fun and enjoyable for people to see. Like I pulled this up today. I go, "Hey Brett, what should we pull up?" You go, "Hey, you should pull up the 55 Chevy." I'm like, "Cool,
And that
sounds
was
good."
incorporating the visors.
Yes, you were incorporating the visors. My dad being on the episode. That's a great idea. Something I might not have thought of because of that fact. But some of the things that have been very easy for me, the questions, talking to people, has been pretty easy for me. There have been actually times, nobody knows this, but I have been a little nervous to talk to certain people because I might not have the rapport that us three have together.
Right.
I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
I mean, like us, we're just talking. It's been well over 2 hours, and we have literally just been talking about whatever.
You're still
and
listening.
There's other
I
ones I'm
appreciate
like,
you.
Yeah.
okay, I want to make sure I have my A game on, and we're having a good episode. So those are things that I want to make sure that are all put into place. I want to make sure. The other thing I want to do is I want to get a better camera. Curtis, the audio guy, said, "Hey, you should maybe get yourself a couple cameras."
Shout out
And thank you guys for that.
He is in the house.
Yes. This is the best way to end. Yeah, end the episode with the Rich Jacobson staple, which is the green
And
visor.
thankfulness. And maybe that's what I should have said with like the easy. And that's what I meant. Like, what are you grateful for? What are you thankful for throughout this entire
I'm
process?
thankful
through
for
the 6
people that
months?
want to continue to come on, because you guys, you've said, "Hey, we should do an episode," or "Hey, I want to come on an episode." Having the repeat business, quote unquote, is really cool because it makes it like if I have a lapse in time of where I can't get someone, someone else that's been on before wants to redo it and come back on. And you guys are like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I got something to bring for you. Like, Josh, you're like, "I got bourbons that will put everyone to shame." I'm like, "Cool. That's amazing. 6-month episode. Let's do that." So I'm really thankful for that. And then I'm also learning to be more social media active. That's like my biggest, I feel like that's like my biggest downfall. I feel like my episodes flow, but I got to get it out to the masses. And the masses won't know it because it's small town. And I have to get myself out there on the TikToks, the Facebook, and Instagram Reels.
Right.
I think those are the ones that are going to be crucial to maybe a younger audience that has a very short span of attention. They're like, "Give me a minute of whatever this is, and maybe I'm interested, and maybe I'm not." I mean, the local people are going to be interested in you and you. They're going to be like, "Oh, yeah, I want to hear what they have to say." But the people in Wisconsin, Illinois, the world. They're like, I don't know who this person is. Why
Right.
should I listen to these people? And they're gonna see you with a green visor on and be like, what the hell's going on?
You should use these. For
We're getting a new thumbnail right
This
now.
is gonna be a thumbnail.
Yeah.
Hold
You know,
on.
the one thing
Hold
I'll-
on. Smile at this right now.
There
Perfect.
you go.
That's our new-
I have one that I put my hand down. But
Yes, I want to hear.
the one thing that I want to say before I would be remiss if I didn't is that instead of, I'm not saying you're super critical, but try not to be so critical about yourself because, like I said in the second installment of me being on
Yeah.
this podcast, these things take time.
Yes, they do.
So it's one thing to look at areas where, okay, I can grow, or I can do this, or I can do that. I can throw out these shorts. I can do that. But try not to focus that on as a negative thing and just more of a growth thing. Because if you tend to focus more on what you're not doing or what you, this is kind of it, like what I could be doing better. I'm going to put that in the negative category in this conversation because I think it takes away from the positive things that you are doing. Because I think you need to focus on those positive things because that's what keeps the momentum going.
Sure,
And the
sure.
fact that this is something you decided to start. You may have had some time to think about it and to consider it and go, hey, I think this would be fun and we could do this. It'd be, it'd be an enjoyable experience. I get people on, we could have conversations, learn about people's lives. Awesome. But you took that, you learned RSS feed, you learned how to go on and design a logo.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Design all this stuff. Buy microphone equipment. Get stands to get set up. I don't remember what you call these.
They're called mic flags.
Mic flags.
Yeah.
Coasters. You have done
Yeah.
a lot in 6 months. And while there's always, every good employee, every good business person, entrepreneur, everybody is always constantly learning and growing and evolving. But I just think it is very important to focus on the good qualities and the good aspects of things because Theo Vaughn probably did this, and he was on The Real World. He was doing stand-up. He probably
Sure.
did it for 6 years before anybody even started catching on.
Right,
I don't
right,
know
right,
the
right.
exact numbers, but you get what I'm saying. So it might take some time.
Yep.
So don't forget about all those good, positive qualities. People are
Right.
calling you saying, hey, let's go on to episode 2. Let's go to episode 3.
Yeah.
Those are just very important, and I'm a positive person. I try to be as much as I can. So if you can focus on those positive aspects, but then also maybe on the side go, okay, these are things I know I can do and it's going to improve
Yep.
versus I'm not doing these things and that's what's making me not be successful. Does
Sure.
that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect.
Well, and even to add on to that, a lot of the times when it comes to any sort of marketing or any type of growth type thing like that, people say it's exponential. But what they don't understand is the timeline by which it's exponential. So so that means 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. Okay, so but that could be, 8 to 16 might be at the 12-month period. So you've already seen growth throughout, and it may take 3 or 4 years, but at that point, just sticking with it and remaining devoted to what you're doing,
Yep.
yeah, you'll see the growth. But most of these that fail, it's because people quit. Just laughing at my visor.
Well, I think it's visors.
All right.
There you go. Rich is gone now, so
Don't do it.
Kinda loses
so
it.
it's a little
great.
small
It loses
for me.
the
Listen.
I have a
a
large
one size
head.
fits all.
It's going to be a display item.
Yes. Well, guys.
So don't forget your flowers. Is all I
Yeah.
guess
Yep.
my point across is don't forget your flowers.
You're doing a great job.
You're doing
Keep
a good
up
job.
with it.
Keep it up. But everybody always has. If you're never thinking of improvements, then you're never growing. So
Right.
Yeah, no. And Stephanie's come up with many things I should do to improve the quality, get my name out there. And so I'm going to take hers, your guys' word. I'm going to
I'm sure
whatever I can do.
Brett, as a married person, can confirm this, but having a wife pretty much is like that all the time.
all the time, 100%, all the time.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what we ever did
Yeah,
without them.
yeah,
To be honest,
yeah. I don't know how I became a better. It's just
I don't know how I started the podcast without
absolutely
my
worthless
wife.
person beforehand.
Yeah,
Apparently,
my wife came with the whole idea. Well,
Yeah.
anyways, guys, I want to thank you for coming on. We've been well over 2 hours, but this is the 6-month celebration.
There you go.
Guys.
Congratulations.
And I appreciate both of you coming on. Josh, you have the #1 episode on Brews Cruise audio. Fitzy, if you're listening, you little shit, you have the most viewed on YouTube. Brett, you are a returning guest. This is
You've
now
been
your
on.
third time
third episode.
coming on, and this flowed so easy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I hope everyone listens
We might
to
have to
it.
start buying more mics, and then we can start getting all the different guests
Well,
on.
you know,
Yeah,
actually,
little walk
I
around
have-
ones.
You that like Fitz, Josh, and
Yeah.
I.
well,
Yeah.
my wife, her friends said, we all want to come on and talk
Huh.
about.
Of course they want to talk.
Yeah, of course.
About Brett.
No, about
Oh.
me marrying Stephanie and then how it's all entailed. And I basically married all their friends.
Did you tell them that you're booked up till 2027?
I said, let's do it, actually, because I don't give a shit. I said, we'll release these mics. I go, Curtis is coming, and he'll be here, and we'll figure out the 2 mics. If I ask a question,
just
they
out of
can just
clarification, which friends want to come?
all of them. The Austin friends, basically. And I said, you know what we can do? We can set up stools behind, because we have plenty of stools back there.
Yeah.
I said, set them up behind the couch. We'll have two people on the couch, like about 4 of them behind, or even 6. I don't care. I go, you guys just got to pass the mic around. It's the only problem. And we can take them off the stands. It's no problem. But I'm like, we can make this work. You just let me know when I didn't hear. This was my exact words. Let me know when all of you can make it. And I go, was it about 8 of you? Oh, like 6 or 7. I go, well, you let me know when all of those people can make it, and we'll make this happen. And also shout out to Curtis, who has been amazing with our audio. And
Executive
also
producer,
tonight,
Curtis.
he's been great with our research. He's been helping this out. He helped out with last week's episode with Jim and Jimmy Jr. Remlinger. So shout out to Curtis. For those who do not know who he is, he's actually in the background helping out with the audio and been doing a fantastic job, allowing me to have dual guests like Brett and Josh to be on here, and Jim and Jimmy Jr. Remlinger. It's been amazing because I have also multiple guests that want to come on that want to do exactly what you guys are doing, having 2 people on. Not everyone's
And
comfortable
he accepts
having.
beer as payment.
And he accepted. I told Curtis, I said, Curtis, I can't pay you except for in beer. I apologize. He goes, that's fine. That's cool.
He was just partaking.
Yeah, he's just partaking, having fun with me, us, just doing our thing. And it's been really fun. These last 6 months have just been fantastic. My plan is right around the first of the year, just prior, having a 1-year anniversary with those who have been involved with this here at the shop.
Not a
It's not-
podcast, just like a little get together.
Just to get together.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do like a real, I don't know. Just something. We'll all
Yeah.
get
That's
together.
6 months away. You don't have to
Yeah.
think about
No,
that
I
now.
don't
Time.
have to right now. Yes.
Just enjoy the
Your
6
wife
months.
will figure it out for you.
Yeah.
Stephanie, figure it out for me. But anyways, thank you guys for coming on. I want to give one more cheers to you guys. Let's all come in here. 6 months has been down. I got 6 months more to go. And guys,
Cheers.
Cheers. And if you are not subscribed to the Brews Cruise podcast on YouTube, please do so. Download it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Samsung. I'm on all the major platforms, but if you subscribe, comment, give a like, whatever it is, it definitely helps out. But I also want to say cheers one more time to you guys.
Cheers. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Cheers to
having
the
us.
camera. Yes. Thank you guys, and have a great night.